The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Thursday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Pochester with you. Anthony Hartwig in studio. What up, man?
Hey, how you doing? I'm sorry. Wow, that's noisy. I picked the wrong.
You get
I picked the wrong attire today.
You're rather loud.
I got the,
Georgia Tech.
I got the baggy windbreaker that makes
Yeah.
noise every time I move.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm gonna have to be like stone cold still today.
Not-
You can't break me. I am a rock.
Oh, you've mentioned Stone Cold and The Rock in the same
There you go.
sentence without really mentioning
Is
the
that kind
two.
of like saying Beetlejuice 3 times? Is that the same kind of
Well,
thing? Where we're gonna
look,
have
I mean, I think all of us should say Beetlejuice 3 times, and maybe COVID will disappear. I don't know.
Well, I think
some-
we're on the tail end of it. You know, the vaccine's out.
Some more teams getting put on COVID. This will be the second or third time the East Palestine boys have been put on COVID.
They've had a rough week.
This will be
rough
the
season.
second time that the Latonia boys team was put on COVID. They'll both be back, I believe, next week. They're both going to be back. And interestingly enough, Latonia played Lisbon on Tuesday night. I don't know the policy on how far the tentacles go on COVID, because the story out of Latonia was one of the kids from East Palestine tested positive the day after they played Latonia. So Latonia shut down their program for a week, still waiting word on if anyone is tested positive. I doubt very seriously if they do. But now how far do you go with this? Do you
Is it United in there too? I mean, didn't United play Latonia?
No, they
played Lisbon.
They played Lisbon.
Okay.
Yeah. So
they should be okay.
yeah, it's Latonia played Lisbon on Tuesday night, not knowing the situation of what was going on. Right. Yesterday, after the show, they got put down as far as the being shut down for like a week or so. So I don't know if Lisbon is going to shut their program down for a week or so. And again, this is the strange part of COVID, and how far do you go down for lack of a better term, how far down the rabbit hole do you go when it comes to shutting down programs? I mean, do you just go with the two teams that played each other, or do you go with the team that could very well be passing along COVID to the next team that they're playing? I guess you wait until you see results from Latonia and see if any of their kids tested positive, or any of the coaches.
Well, I think that might be to the administrator's prerogative, right? To see if, how much they want to take. Okay, there wasn't a positive test in our program, but we played someone with it, and then we played someone who played someone with a positive test, so maybe we should. But they're the ones that are kind of gonna make that decision whether or not we should shut down. So I think it's really to the prerogative of how safe you think you are, and maybe wait for Latonia to come out and say, like, hey, we're symptom free, we have no effects, whatever it may be. Okay, then Lisbon, we're good, we don't have to shut down. It's a bundled bowl of spaghetti, and I'm using that for your Italian brethren.
Well, I appreciate that.
So, I mean, tentacles, spaghetti needles—they're all the same. So.
Yeah, it's just how far does the spaghetti string go? And it's tough. This is just. It's been a weird year. There's no two ways about it. It's just been a really bizarre year, and hopefully we can get rid of this as quickly as possible and at least alleviate most of it as quickly as possible and go from there.
I think it's still so awesome, though, that despite all of it, we're getting really good basketball. We're getting
absolutely we are.
Getting big wins. I mean, we talked about last week what a great basketball week it was. We're getting good games this week. We're going to finish it off with good games tonight and Friday night, full schedule both nights. It's a testament to the teams that are playing and the teams that maybe have dealt with a couple of shutdowns and then come back full strength. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, no question. Cardinal Mooney and Ursuline played a good one last night up in Ursuline High School. So the Southsiders went to Wick Avenue on the north end of town, knocked off Ursuline 45-36. Mooney now 9-5, 4-0 in conference play. Ursuline falls to 7-6, 2-1 in conference play. And we've talked about this. When you go into the tournaments, Ursuline is D3, Mooney is D2. Now, the boys, it's flipped. Mooney goes D3, right. Ursuline goes D2. But you look at Mooney, they're playing some really good basketball.
Yeah, they're playing they're playing some really lockdown defense right now, and that's going to help you so much in the tournaments because you're going to see so many different, skill play, especially in that Division II bracket. We'll break it down in a little bit because we have all the teams that are going to be in that super district. I mean, you look at the list of teams and the talent they have on the offensive side. If you're playing good defense and are able to take some of these teams out of their game, then you'll have a chance to win every night on the floor.
Okay, now we have divisions 1 through 4, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to be breaking down during the course of the day. We're going to be breaking down all of the Super Size Me districts.
And that's the teams that are in it. We don't have the seedings yet. That voting starts today and it extends to Friday night, so hopefully next week we'll have the seeding. And then after that, the draw, and we'll see where people decide to go bracket-wise.
Yeah, it's Sunday, I believe, the seedings and the drawings are announced. Right. And then Monday we will have the brackets, and we're going to have all kinds of interesting things. And again, this year is a little bit different. It's more different than in previous years to about 5 years ago where everything was in one place. 5 years ago, they moved it to, higher seeds get home games until the district semifinals, and then the district semifinals are played in one place. Now it's ollie in free. Higher seed gets home field all the way to, I believe, the district championship game.
Yeah, and that's how, if they haven't announced it yet, it's not official, but that's how they did it in volleyball, so you can expect that's probably how they'll do it with basketball. The high seed hosts all the way through the district championship and then try to find the same neutral sites that they usually use for regional. So teams will probably still be going to Barberton in Division II when you're talking about girls, and then Cuyahoga Falls in Division III. And then I think where do they go for Division IV? Now it's drawing a blank.
It's not Dalton. It's oh, for the love of God! I know it, and we're gonna have to look it up. Yeah, I'm embarrassed that Maslin Perry.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, the big P on the court.
Maslin Perry High School
right.
is where they went to the regional play. Good Lord, McFly, hello.
Come on, Marty. Great Scott, Marty.
Yeah, the flux capacitor is not working today. All right, so Mooney gets a victory over Ursuline last night. Louisville beat Cheney in their place. Springfield over Columbiana. It's a good win for the Tigers.
It's a good win for the Tigers, especially they're a man down right now. So going without someone that's really key to your game and beating a very scrappy Columbiana team. The Tigers have won 3 in a row. They're starting to get a little bit hot. And you've seen J.C. Mullen. He's still one of the better players in the area, but with the 5'10" and the ability to kind of shoot in the perimeter and the ability to kind of dominate in the post. So, Springfield's starting to look really good right now, starting to find a groove. Coach Schuler, he's been there, done that, so he's starting really put a niche into Springfield.
Matthews knocked off Heartland Christian. Brookfield gets a victory over
Big
Newton
win for
Falls.
Brookfield.
Yeah,
Big
that was a solid Brookfield team. I mean, their only loss of the year came a week ago at Crestview, and when Larry and I broadcast the game, and I was stunned in a good way that Crestview was able to get a victory over Brookfield. That was a very hard fought and a well deserved victory for Crestview.
It's a big win for Brookfield, and then it sets up a really big matchup when Crestview goes down to Brookfield for round 2.
Yeah, that's going to be a fascinating matchup. Now, what I'm looking forward to seeing, and I believe Brookfield will play Newton Falls tomorrow night in basketball. That's going to be a really, really good game. And we haven't talked very much about Newton Falls boys basketball team, but Coach Roy is nothing short of spectacular, and every single year that program has a very good 14-16 type win program, and sometimes you get a much better program. This is one of those years, even though they haven't played very many games. Newton Falls only has one loss this year. That's an impressive basketball team.
Yeah, and the other side is, can Brookfield kind of right the ship, because they started off so good, and then they lost to Crestview, and it seems like the wheels have started to come off a little bit ever since that loss. They need a big win, like one that would give them to kind of right the ship and screw the wheels back on and get that thing rolling before tournament starts.
Yeah, and we talked about this last night, or yesterday, I'm sorry. Tuesday night, Newton Falls was down 25 to Liberty. In about 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes to go in the ball game, Liberty takes out their starters. Newton Falls kept their starters in, whittled the deficit down to 8. Liberty had to put their starters back into the game.
Get back in there.
And Newton Falls took it to overtime, won the game in double overtime. And that's a painful lesson, but you and I have coached. You don't take your starters out until the opposing coach raises the white flag.
Right.
Because if you do,
Well,
you risk that opportunity, or you risk that chance of having the team get back into the ball game at the expense of your second team.
And if you do, if you put your second team in, you better tell your second team, okay, we're going to play hard. We're going to press. We're going to do everything that the varsity did to begin this game. We're not going to, why put the second team in and then back them off like you would the varsity starters?
No, you can't.
And I don't know if they did that because I wasn't there. But if you're putting your second team in, the point of that is to give them reps and to get them time and to put them in a spot where you can trust them later. So to do that, you have to do everything that you would in a normal, a close game with the second team. So I hope at least the Liberty second team was up and pressing and doing what they should do, getting ball pressure on the ball. And then props to Newton Falls for just saying, hey, if you're going to disrespect us like that and put your second team in with still 5 minutes to go in the game, we're going to come all the way back to make it 8 points.
And they did.
That's amazing. What were they? They were down 25?
They were down 25 with about 4.5 minutes to go in the game. That's
going to be one of the biggest comebacks I've ever seen.
Oh, that's amazing. I don't think I've ever seen or heard about a high school team down 25
with 4.5
minutes, half of the fourth quarter, 4.5 minutes left in the game, and you come all the way back from 25 points down. Think about this. You're normally scoring 20 points. If you score 20 points a quarter, that's 80 points a game. Well, if you score 20 points in a quarter, you're not winning that game. You're still going to lose by at least 5, assuming that you hold the team scoreless for that whole quarter. Mm-hmm. So that's, they score 31 points in the final quarter to send the game into overtime.
That's what 9 possessions, even if you hit all threes. So
yeah, that's 27 for
but 24 is 8. So
yeah.
So it's got to be 9 possession game.
There you go. Or a 3-pointer and somebody got fouled and they do a 4-point play, which I've only seen once or twice.
Yeah, it happens. So I saw it at the end. It didn't go in, but I will never forget the end of the game at last year's South Range Holiday Hoops Classic between Howland and West Branch. Howland was up 2 with like 2 seconds to go. West Branch had nothing to do. They were inbounding in a half court. All they could do was throw up a desperation shot. So they pass it in. They get the ball a little bit past half court. Girl throws it up, and Helen fouled her. And she went to the free throw line and won the game with 3 free throws.
That's where you just pull your hair out. I mean, look, you can't. Well, you could.
And it was such a low-scoring game. It was like 28-27 at the end.
You could scream at some people, but I mean that's just that's defeating the purpose. I mean, you just got to basically say, okay, hopefully you've learned a very valuable lesson that you don't foul anyone near the half-court line.
There's no I mean, all you have to do is to stand there with a hand up and make the shot contested.
There you go.
Because it's a desperation shot. If she hits it and you're doing this, then props to you. You hit a half-court shot to win the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if you're not playing defense and you're just saying, man, go ahead, and they hit the shot, well, you just sit back and go, okay.
Tip the hat.
Tip the hat. Hell of a shot. Tip the hat.
You don't want to put them on the free throw.
No, my goodness, no. You don't put anybody on the free throw line in that situation. That's horrible. All right, we got lots of basketball to talk about. Let's see. Mike Kolar, the McDonald interim girls basketball coach, will be calling in at 12:45. Boy, hell of a game McDonald played against West Branch on Monday. And I just love the fact that these two teams found a way to play each other this year because they're both really, really good basketball teams. Yeah. And both West Branch and McDonald are going to be two of the favorites in their Super Size Me districts.
And McDonald made a heck of a comeback attempt. They got the last shot to tie it. It just didn't go in. I mean, they were down by, I think, 10 in the fourth quarter. So, great grit by that team to come back against a big Division II team.
Yeah. Brett Green from Boardman will be calling in at 1 o'clock. That's one team I would not want to play in the first round of the tournament because Boardman is slowly but surely they're starting to get their identity, and that is that's a team that could be dangerous at least in the first round of the tournament. Mike Kernan from Ursuline will be calling in at 1:30, and we'll get his take on Ursuline's season to this point: 7 wins, 6 losses. That's going to be a tough out in Division III. They are going to be a tough out.
And we could talk to him about the breakdown of last night's game and what his perspective, what he saw from his team, and then we'll talk about kind of what the next couple of weeks will look like for Ursuline as they get ready for the tournament.
Dre Smith will be calling in. Youngstown State swept a pair from UIC, a team they were not supposed to be playing. Unfortunately, Detroit ceased operations at least through the end of the year. Their head basketball coach is going to be sent to the principal's office. Every single member of the team and the parents signed a petition saying that this woman was way, way, way over the edge when it came to discipline, amongst other things. And
so they didn't just shut down for COVID reasons.
No. They shut down because they didn't like her. Now, I don't know this situation, and this just in, and hopefully kids that are playing high school understand this. When you go play college basketball, you're a student. No two ways about that. And at Youngstown State, you are a student, and they take it seriously. There are other places, however, where you're going to be told by the coach, don't schedule classes in this time period because this time period you're in the gym and you're practicing. And there are some schools that really don't care whether or not you graduate. You're there to play basketball if you're on scholarship, and it's not a good situation. And Detroit sounds like their coach was one of those people that just was not on board completely with the education part of it. So that wouldn't fly at Youngstown State. We'll just leave it at that.
That wouldn't fly because penguins don't fly anyway.
No, that's true.
So
yeah, that is very, very true. All right, so before we I'll tell you what we do. We take a timeout, and then we're going to start doing the Super Size Me game.
All right.
D4, 3, 2, and 1. And let's just say
Want to start with D4 since we're having Coach Kohler call in at 12:45?
Yeah. And let's just say that there are some very interesting names attached to the normal teams that you would see in a normal district tournament, whether it be the Columbiana and Mahoning County schools or the Trumbull County schools in Division IV. There's some big names, big Division IV names, and I'm going to be real curious how the area plays this one, and more importantly, where teams are going to be going. This is it can be fun. And all 4 divisions are going to be just a nightmare for our local teams, but there is potential for a lot of our teams to make a serious run in the Super Size Me tournaments. So we'll get to the names of the D4 teams and also get the head or the interim coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Mike Kolar, on the program. But we'll take a timeout first and be back. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline will be open for business, 330-886-0813. Ron and Anthony with you on a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Points, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Pochester with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. This is always an exciting time of the year. Now, we're, truth be told, we are not doing brackets yet because that's not going to be determined until Sunday. But they have announced, at least for girls basketball, they have announced all of the teams that are going to be taking part in the Super Size Me tournaments. And for those hiding under a rock over the last 9 months or so, we now have 2 districts that are going to smash into one supersized district. We're about to go into Division 4. Anthony, you got all of the names, and there's some impressive names that are going to be in our supersized district.
So here's Northeast 1 and 2. So these are the two, this will break down into 2 districts when the seeds are done. We have Badger, Bristol, Cardinal, Chalker, Lisbon, East Canton, Heartland Christian, Jackson Milton, JFK, Leetonia, Lordstown, Lowville, Maplewood, Matthews, McDonald, Newton Falls, Sebring, Southern, Springfield, St. John School, Valley Christian, Wellsville, Western Reserve, and Wyndham. So those will be seeded and break into 2 districts.
Those are 24 teams. Now, I would imagine that you would have 8 teams getting a bye into the sectional title or sectional games, where then you would have the 9 play the 24, the 10 play the 23, the 11 play the 22.
If they decide to go that way, yeah.
Yeah. If they decide to go that way. And they, who knows how they're going to do this.
I mean, in volleyball, I remember Middle Ridge was a 1 seed, but the next highest seed in their district was the 5 because 2, 3, and 4 all just went with the 2 seeds. So,
yeah. I'll be very curious how they seed these teams 1 through 24, because I was thinking of my alma mater, Leetonia High School, even though I'm wearing Crestview gear, and I would think that Leetonia would be seeded no higher than 5th.
Well, since the voting is today and tomorrow, and the rematch between McDonald and Western Reserve is Saturday.
Yeah.
You gotta probably go with the winner of the first game and put McDonald ahead of Western Reserve.
And then you put Western Reserve at the 2.
Right. I would say 1, 2. Now, when you think about like 3, 4, 5, 6, I mean, you're looking, and man, that's when it gets kind of jumbled. I mean, Newton Falls is a very good team.
Yep.
They're in there. They'll probably be 3 or 4 or 5. I think.
Springfield beat Leetonia earlier this season in Leetonia, so that might be something where even though Leetonia probably has a better record overall, the fact that Springfield did beat them in Leetonia, that might give Springfield a higher seed.
Jackson Milton's got a good record. They'll probably be in the top 10.
You would think.
So you look at a lot of our local schools outside of McDonald and Western Reserve, you have a lot of good chances. Valley Christian might be pretty high up there. Leetonia, even though they lost to Springfield, they might still pop into that top 12 area because of their record and because of the respect they're given. A lot of Division III teams in their schedule.
Is Liberty a D4 or are they a D3?
They must be D3 because they're not in this list.
Yeah, because I didn't think I heard Liberty's name, so they're D3 then. Oh, boy, that D3 tournament's going to be fun.
I don't know how good Shocker and Bristol. Some of these a little bit out of Badger, Bristol, Cardinal. Now the other side, the West, which is Northeast 3. There's only 11 teams. So I imagine they're going to go grab another district outside of Northeast to make up the regionals for this because the 11 teams on the other side of Northeast, Andrews Academy, Central Christian, Columbia, Cornerstone Christian, which is one of the big dogs in Division 4, along with Cuyahoga Heights, Dalton, Fairpoint, Harding, Hillsdale, Lake Center Christian, Lawnville, which is another really big dog in Division 4, and then Richmond Heights. So it'll be interesting to see which bracket lines up with that one in regionals. Because, our local teams have 2 brackets because they have 24 teams in that Northeast 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then over there, they only have 11, so they'll have 1 district. So it'll be interesting to see which one the other district matches up with, and then which district matches up with the other Northeast one.
I'm wondering if they're going to be, and D4 does this every so often because there's not a lot of D4 programs in the Northeast part of the state. I'm wondering if they're going to take one of those D4 programs south of Columbiana County on the Ohio border, but south central Ohio, or not south central, southeastern part of the state, closer to the border, where they would be the closest to join the Northeast portion of the regional tournaments. They do that every so often in boys hoops. I don't know if they'll do that for the girls basketball regionals, but that's what they normally do. They either take that section or they go to the central part where you see Mansfield St. Peter and that section in the central part of the state of Ohio, because there's a lot of D4 teams in the western part. That's where the That's where that gigantic super conference with Coldwater and Maria Steinmary local,
Right.
the MAC. There's a ton of D4 programs out in the western part of Ohio and in the northwest part of Ohio. So sometimes when they go regional tournaments, they either take the central Mansfield area and put them into the northeast region, or they go down into the southeast part of the state and take that district, the district that would include East Liverpool and the Bel Air area, and snag that part of the region into the northeast and put them into the regionals. Either way, Division 4 is going to be fun. That's going to be. Seems to me, and maybe you can help me out because you're more of an expert. Seems to me that district that you just talked about with Cornerstone Christian, that's a better, more quantity. Or I'm sorry, there's more quantity on our side. There's more quality with the so-called big names in that one district.
Yeah, because you got Cornerstone Christian, Dalton, and Laudonville all in that district. So you know, between those three, who's going to win it? You know, I would pick Laudonville right now. I saw them against Waterloo earlier this year. They came to Waterloo to play. They looked really impressive. I saw Dalton against Western Reserve, but that was early in the season. I haven't had a chance to watch Cornerstone Christian, but I've heard that although they're still very good, they're not the Cornerstone Christian that people are used to. That's just what I've heard from people around that area, that they're still a very formidable team this year, but they lost a lot last year.
Yeah. I mean, I got to imagine that they're going to be swooping the team from the central part of the state, because I can't imagine the bus ride that you would have to take. Let's say...
well, you would be playing in Perry at that point because it'd be a regional.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And okay, so you're not supersizing those two districts then?
No, I think this is just going to be one district with 11 teams.
Oof. That's a hell of a district.
Right.
Yeah, that's... I can't even begin to think who goes to the district championship there, because you got 3 or 4 teams that are district championship caliber in that 11-team field.
And it's interesting, you know, Buckeye Central is a team that whatever district they're in might be matched up with the regional, because they won the Perry Regional last year against Dalton. So whatever district Buckeye Central falls into, they might be the one that gets matched up with these 3 districts that we're going to be talking about.
And that Buckeye Central was the team that played Leetonia in boys playoffs.
Yes.
Okay, so they're way out toward.
That.
Yeah, they upset Wellsville. Yeah, they're way out toward Mansfield. I thought they were south of Wellsville toward the river, toward Marietta. No, they're way out toward Mansfield. So I'm almost positive they're going to grab the Mansfield area and have that go into to the regional.
And then when you think about our local, you know, in Division 4, you got to think that McDonald and Western Reserve are going to be 1 and 2, so they're going to avoid each other and go in different districts. So you're making a decision if you're one of the 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. Do I go and try to knock out McDonald, or do I go and try to knock out Western Reserve? And that's all going to be on matchups, because they're 2 very different kind of looking teams. So it's like, who do you match up better with?
How far does that go, where you have the choice to go one or the other?
I think it's pretty much like when you're 1, you choose, and then 2, obviously you can choose to be in the same district if you want to, but most of them are just going to be like, nope, we'll go to the other one. And then 3 chooses, 4 chooses, 5 chooses. And then at some point you're like, well, we have to go here because that's where the spot is.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much you choose in the order you're seated.
Okay.
So 3 will choose, and then 4 will choose, and then at some point you run out of choices, because it's like, well, this bracket's filled up. I got to go somewhere in this bracket.
Yeah. I mean, if let's say, for example, that Western Reserve and McDonald's 1, Western Reserve is 2. The 3, the 4, and the 5 decide we don't want any part of the top seed. We're going to go over here.
Right.
And then the 6 decides, I'll take my trip to the district championship and take my chances against the 1 seed. I mean, theoretically.
Right.
So you go over there, and the 7 follows the 6 and says, yeah, I'll do that as well. But at some point in time, I would think, as you get toward the end, okay, you're going to go where you are pretty much geographically set, and then you other ones are going to be where the other teams are geographically friendly.
Right, and I think some of these teams that have played McDonald and Western Reserve twice kind of know where they want to. Like Jackson Milton will know exactly what team they'd rather face because they play both of them twice.
Yeah, Lowville, same thing.
Lowville, Springfield, they'll know exactly where they want to go. So even Wellsville, I mean, they don't play them twice, but they understand what McDonald and Western Reserve are. It's going to be interesting to see what some of these out of area teams decide to do if they're in like the top 8, where they decide to go based on how much they know or don't know about McDonald and Western Reserve.
Okay, so before we get the head basketball coach or the interim basketball coach of the McDonald Blue Devils on, the difference between McDonald and Western Reserve. I saw these two teams play earlier in the season. You have a very big basketball team and a team that is equally big in one area, but they both played completely different styles of basketball.
Right, and McDonald likes to, press like crazy. And they have really quick guards, and they'll like to get Molly Howard in the high post, and they'll run a bunch of different plays from that with their quick guards running past her. And then, when you have someone as skilled as the Howard sisters, and then I think their guards are a little bit bigger than Western Reserve's. You got Costantino in there that's a little bit bigger than maybe a Kennedy Miller. So it's interesting to see those two go up again, and I'm excited for Saturday's matchup between those two at McDonald because it's been a battle every year. Some years they split, and then they meet each other in the district finals. Now we know, well, we don't know, but we assume they're not going to meet each other in the district finals. They're both going to have a legitimate shot to win a district, which is even more exciting because then you get two really good teams competing in the regionals in the area instead of knocking one of them out before they even get there.
Yeah, and I think that this is one of those situations where we could go 2 for 2 and have half of the region. And depending on how they're doing it this year, those two teams could be playing each other, or they could be playing the other two teams, and then we go from there. But there's a chance that we go 2 for 2.
We could have McDonald Western Reserve playing in a regional final.
That's true.
On the line, someone's going to state.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be really fun.
Yeah. Now, I mean, if that were to be the case, great. If these two played each other, or two local teams played each other with the winner going to the regional championship, I mean, you're guaranteed a team in the Elite 8. That's a pretty cool scenario as well.
And, if you're Western Reserve, you beat Dalton earlier this year. You can compete with the people over on that other side of the district. If they happen to match your district up with theirs, you can compete with those. So I think it'll be interesting to see how whatever team matches up with the 11 teams over in the West, how they handle the district and how they kind of go through it, because that matchup in the regional semifinal is going to be tough.
Oh, no question. No question about that. Now, I'll be curious to see what some of the area coaches decide to do based on what they have. And, there are some teams that are a wild card.
How area teams vote and how strategic it gets.
Well, yeah.
Because the voting came out for football. So we'll at some point, we'll probably know how each team voted for these basketball tournaments, and to see, I voted this team a 3 because then I'd fall into the 5 and then I could avoid them. The strategy changes a little bit with the big supersized district.
I just wish people would just honestly say, okay, in my humble opinion, this is the top 24 teams, and here you go, and I have no agenda, hidden agenda, nothing at all. And this is the top 24 teams, and there you go.
People are like, people are going to be like, hey, let's just put that team at 7. That way, I might get to avoid them in a district because they're a sneaky team that I don't want to play.
Yeah, it's just.
And we saw that with college football when Dabo Sweeney put Ohio State at number 11.
No, I get it. I get it, but I think coaches have to also realize you're one vote, And it's not like your vote is going to determine whether this team is going to get a 2 or a 3 or a 4. I mean, you'd have to have 3 or 4 coaches in on your scheme in order to make that a reality.
And when the football voting came out, it was pretty across the board. Coaches voted the way that you would expect them to. I think everyone put Kirtland number 1 in Division 3.
Oh, yeah.
And, the only things that changed is when you're voting on teams in your region that other regions might not know about. Like, the teams that play Bristol and Badger and Cardinal might vote them a little bit higher than the teams in our area would because they see them all the time, and that's going to happen.
Well, and I think that's only natural. I mean, you have teams in the MVAC Scarlet tier and teams in the EOAC that have seen each other that don't necessarily play the Cardinals, the Badgers, the Bristols, the Lordstowns. So they're going to look at them and say, well, I mean, we'll put them a little lower because I've coached against these teams and this is how good these teams are.
It'll be interesting, too, because usually coaches on those teams that you don't really know a lot about just go based on record. But this year, some teams have played like 6 games. So how do you go on a 4-2 record or a 5-1 record when you've only played 6 games? It's like, do you give a team a lot of credit just for being 5-1 right now? You almost have to if you don't know anything about them.
Well, and the other thing is, what happens if one of the star players is out and you haven't had that many games, and let's say they're 1-4, 1-5.
Right.
Oh, okay. You're going to go into the low 20s,
and then all of a sudden, you get that star player back.
Yeah.
I thought this team was garbage.
Yeah. Well, surprise, they're not. And I don't know if there's a situation where that is in play or not. But that's all part of the magic of tournament basketball, and the fact that you have a supersized district now that makes things a little more interesting.
This is about to be real fun. I love tournament time. I loved it when I was in high school and you could go to one spot. I still love it, even though you can't go to one spot. It's just, the games mean a little bit more. You can see the effort from every player that they wanted a little bit more than regular season, and the crazy things that happen during a tournament. It's a fun time. I love tournament time in basketball.
And now the only thing that sucks is you have all the games at the same time, and people can't be at the same time in different places. So, obviously that's tough. I mean, if you're looking to watch your team live, then you have no access to any other game. So, and we don't want to tell anyone to stay home and watch our product, but if you want to watch multiple games, you can stay home and watch our product and a few other games, and you're then able to watch a lot more games than just one game. But I can also understand especially if you're a parent or someone who supports the local team, you're not gonna stay home.
No, you're gonna go. You're gonna go, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, 330-886-0813, patiently awaiting the interim head coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Mike Kolar. McDonald's busy. Saturday, they play Western Reserve in the rematch. Should be a fun one. McDonald and Western Reserve, the two best teams, arguably the two best, they are the two best teams in the Scarlet tier of the MVAC, and arguably the two best teams in Division 4 when we get the Super Size Me 24-team district. And how that's going to work is, that's going to be all kinds of fun. Now, they have till tomorrow to vote.
Yeah, I think it's today until tomorrow night. I'm pretty sure.
Well, that'll be entertaining to see how the coaches decide to vote, and where do they vote their own team in. What do they do with teams that they have seen? I think it's going to be very interesting.
And I think when you're voting your team, you try to be as honest as possible and put you where you deserve. But, like we said, some coaches, get a little strategic with it. And that's also kind of fun to see, how strategy plays a part in where you vote.
I mean, I get that, but you're one vote out of 24 coaches. Your strategy isn't going to work.
If the other 24 coaches are like,
unless you have 5 or 6 of your colleagues in cahoots, it's not going to work.
Backdoor deals,
Well, hey, look, I mean, there have been plenty of backdoor deals through the years in the tournaments when they used to do the They used to get the coaches together in person, and you drew a pill, and you decided, I want to go in the lower bracket, or do I want to go in the upper bracket? And then you have to say it to the person's face because the coach is there. And if you're like, I'm going to go into this bracket because I know I can win this bracket. And you're disrespecting the rest of the teams in this particular bracket. I mean, that's, it gets a little testy, or it did get a little testy at times.
Yeah, and then, it's funny when, teams are in in the old days when you voted in person, teams are in the same league, and it's like, oh, man, I don't really like this team because, we've tried to beat them, we can't, so I'm gonna spite them and vote them 3 or 4, even though I know they deserve to be the 1 seed.
Yeah.
It happens.
And again,
it especially used to happen when it was in person because you wanted everyone to know that you were spiting them and why you were spiting,
Sure. I mean, but you did it in person.
Right.
You're not doing this in person
behind
now.
The keyboard.
You're doing it behind the keyboard, hence the term keyboard warrior. Back in the day, you had to do it in person, and it was always entertaining to see someone have the stones to just flat out say, well, your team sucks, even though we didn't play very well against you. You're not a number 1. Here's a 4. Okay. Entertaining.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon because we think we're going to beat you, even though we got our ass kicked 2 straight times. But we think we can beat you. Okay.
You're not that good.
Yeah, that doesn't fly very well.
That doesn't fly.
But yeah, I mean, back in the day, they had to do it in person. So, all right, 330-886-0813. We'll take a timeout. Hopefully, we will jump on board the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline with the interim coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Coach Kolar. Hopefully, going to be calling in soon. Stick around. It's a Thursday edition of Running Point. Back in a bit.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Local teams are heating up the hardwoods, and you can keep up with all the action on and off the court with Five Guys Hoop News all season long on 21 Sports.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown, and we are pleased to be joined on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline by the interim coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Mike Kolar. Coach, how are you today, sir?
Good, sir. Doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. First and foremost, before we talk McDonald girls basketball, how is Coach Matisse doing?
Actually, Coach Matisse came to practice last night for the first time in a long time, and he looks so much better, getting stronger, healthier, and his plan is to be there tonight when we play Ridge, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Coach, you've been playing this whole year. I've heard it said from your players, we're playing for Coach Matisse while he's, dealing with his issues. What's it been like seeing this team kind of rally around and just play for Coach?
You know what? The girls just play hard no matter what, but him at practice yesterday, man, that was nice to see. The girls were really excited to see him back in the gym and him looking better than, he has in a while. So that's where I really noticed it yesterday when he showed up. They got really excited.
Coach, this year has just been it's been a whirlwind for so many obvious reasons. With COVID shutting you guys down and all of Trumbull County down for most of the month of December. You played a few games before the health board shut down the Trumbull County schools. You hit the ground running in late December, early January, and started playing a ton of basketball games. What is the state of your basketball team right now, going into the tail end part of the 2020-2021 regular season?
Well, right now, I actually think we're right on the cusp of like having our legs back totally, being back in basketball shape. When they shut us down, like you mentioned, we couldn't even have practice. They would only let 8 girls in the gym even when we reopened. So we did a lot of shooting, worked on things like that, but nothing gets you back in basketball shape like playing basketball. So this past, 2 weeks has been really playing hard, getting in shape, watching more of our shots go in now that our legs are getting back. And I think we're really ready to hit our stride, to tell you the truth.
Coach, you had a tough game against West Branch on Monday. You lost by 3, but, you're 2 divisions up when you're playing a team like that. What did that game do for you guys going forward and playing an opponent like West Branch?
I think it did wonders for us, to tell you the truth. Our senior leader, 1,000-point scorer, does everything for us on the court, fouled out in the game with 7 minutes and 17 seconds to go in the game. And our girls competed all the way to the end. In fact, had chances to take the lead. Ball just didn't go in. We had a 3 at the buzzer, a good look, and didn't go in to tie it. But those girls played a whole quarter without her, which they hadn't done for a long time, and I think that did wonders for our whole team.
Coach, when you guys first opened up, was the temptation there to schedule 3 and 4 games a week and essentially use your practice time as playing games and with the thought of experience is the best teacher? Were you guys tempted to play 4 games a week?
Well, that's actually what happened, and I don't know if we were tempted more so than just forced. Otherwise, we weren't even going to get 20 games in. It just doing the math, you have to play 3 and 4 games a week just to get 20 games in a month, So that's what we tried to do, and I think it's going okay for us. We got tired there for a little bit, then we kind of bounced back. So I think, like I said, right now, we're kind of right where we want to be, I think.
Like you said, you have Ridge tonight, and then you have the rematch with Western Reserve on Saturday. What kind of things do you want to see from the girls and from the team in the next couple games to close out the week?
Well, we go to Ridge tonight, and that's a little bit of a cross-street rival there a little bit. They're a very young team. So I'm hoping to, work on some things tonight that, we need to tone up on and everything. And then, of course, a big one on Saturday. That's always a great game. And, they've beaten us. We've beaten them in the past few years. It's been back and forth. And hopefully we can play well Saturday.
Coach, Anthony and I were going through the list of names in the Super Size Me district tournament. 24 teams in this Super Size district tournament, and I got to believe that McDonald is going to be the top seed or no lower than the 2nd seed in a 24-team field where ideally you're going to be splitting 12 teams on one side, 12 teams on the other side. This has the makings of a really interesting postseason.
I agree. According to our record and the teams we've played and beaten, I would expect the 1 or 2 seed. I mean, I guess really doesn't matter which way you fall or whatever. You got to win every game then. You know, it's tournament time. There's nothing better than that. I think without the amount of fans because of COVID, it might be, I don't know, not as exciting for some people, but not for the kids. You know, not for the kids. They're just out there to play and win and hopefully move on every game. It doesn't matter if you lose to a 2 seed or a 12 seed. If you lose, you're done. So you got to play every night.
You know, your first year with this program, what has impressed you so much so far about the players you have and the community that you're in down at McDonald?
Well, it's been nothing but support, tons of support from the administration to other coaches to parents. It's been an amazing amount of support. And as for the team, man, they really are basketball savvy. They have, you know, grit to them, and they just know how to win. They know how to win, you know, tight games, and it didn't work out for us the other day, but they really have that knowledge and experience that, you know, can go a long way.
Yeah, McDonald has developed into quite the program. And, you know, we sit back and we talk about the varsity team and the success that the varsity team is having. There's success all the way down the line at McDonald. You've turned that town, it's been a basketball town for quite some time, but that town just loves its basketball, and it shows at both boys and girls.
You know, absolutely. I mean, the boys are undefeated right now, and I know the community is a little frustrated because not a lot of them get to come to the games this year, and that's, you know, just an unfortunate sadness to this whole pandemic. But, you know, thanks to you guys at YSN, at least they get to see the game live. So kudos to you guys.
One of the things we want you to do while we have you on is just highlight your senior leaders and what they bring to the team and some of the things that you've noticed that make them so good leaders on the floor.
Well, we are senior loaded. You know, we have 7 seniors on the team this year. 4 of them start. And, you know, it's Molly and Maddie Howard. You know, those 2 can do pretty much anything. They have size. They can shoot the ball from anywhere. They can handle it, pass it, whatever you need them to do. We have Sophia Costantino, who probably are one of the best shooters I've ever played with or coached. You know, she's dead eye. You know, she just makes shots. We got Brooke Lewis coming off the bench for us. She's been a highlight reel every time she's in there, just cleaning up the boards. And another senior, Emily Pratt, has been kind of under the weather a little bit, and she hasn't really gotten back into it yet. Carly Stitt, another senior. Anything we ask her to do, she's in there. She even played a couple JV quarters for us when we didn't have enough so that we could actually play the game. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention our one junior in Lucia Wolford, who really does everything for us. And finally, there's Taylor Tuchek, who is one of the best defenders I have ever been around. She is lightning quick. Her hands are so fast, and she just causes havoc for other teams' offenses. It's a great weapon that we have in Taylor.
Interim head coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Mike Kolar, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. And you mentioned Coach Matizzi will be back for tonight's game, and obviously his health has improved dramatically. Anthony and I are anxiously awaiting where everyone is seated, how the drawing is going to come about. I can only imagine the excitement level that you guys have looking at this potential field and who you could be matched up against in the tournament trail. We're giddy about it. You guys have to be giddy times 100.
We are. We're you know, sometimes the end of the season gets kind of monotonous with practice and everything. You just kind of tune it up. But once that ball goes up in them tournament games, it's like a whole new season. So everybody's excited about it.
How important is it going to be when tournaments start that you have a lot of players that just know how to win, and they've been there before. The stage isn't going to be big, and I think, like you said, senior led. How big is that going to be in the tournaments?
Oh, I think it's huge, absolutely huge. Not only have they been there before and know what to expect, but their expectations are higher this year. Lots of teams, they set goals for the year and maybe win the league or win a tournament game, and they reach that goal and then they just kind of fall off. I can't see that happening with this team. They are hungry and they want to win every game. So.
Well, Coach, exceed your dreams, and once you hit them, become greedy. That's all we're asking.
All right, we'll give it our best shot.
Hey, thanks a lot for coming on, and we will talk soon.
Hey, I appreciate the call.
All righty. Interim head coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Mike Kolar, on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Look, it'll be a major story if McDonald is not one of the top two seeds. I mean, it would be a severe injustice, and I would not want to piss that team off. I'm just saying.
And with all they've gone through, not just with COVID, but with their coach going down, I think having Mike Kolar, who's been with Coach Mattizi for a long time, to step in and kind of knows exactly what Mattizi's standards are, and I think that's so important. It would have been a lot different if he had a new staff at McDonald, and that would have been a much tougher situation to be put in. So I think it's just so important that he put Mike Kolar in that position, and Mike Kolar's been with Mattizi for so long, so they didn't really miss a beat.
And you bring up a really good point because, had Tony Mattizi gone with an assistant coach that didn't understand the Mattizi way of playing basketball, this could have gone sideways real quick.
Yeah, it could have. It could have, because if you just, if you bring on someone new, the plus side to that is, hey, you have someone that maybe is closer to the program, knows exactly what they have, and can help you out with, maybe some of the role players that can do things. But then on the flip side, it's like when the worst case scenario happens, which was the worst case scenario, you don't know if they're going to know exactly what you want that program to be.
From Division 4, we go all the way up to Division 1 as we bring aboard the head basketball coach for the Boardman girls basketball team, Coach Brett Green. Coach, how are you today, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Anthony and I were talking earlier in the show about Boardman, and I have made this comment. I would not want to play the Boardman Spartans in round 1 of the tournament because it appears that you're getting your girls into the identity of Spartan basketball. And having lived in Boardman, that is a dangerous proposition for any basketball team to face because Spartan basketball in my era was, it was good. And if you have that team in that frame of mind, that's a nightmare matchup for anybody in round 1.
Yeah, we're just, winning is hard, and we're trying to instill some of that, old Spartan tradition of just playing hard all the time. It's a mindset change, and they're going through it. When I first was hired, I talked to Coach Michella. I talked to a lot of Boardman alumni, and sitting and talking with Coach Birch and Marco as well. Just how we want to go about things, and it's a process.
You guys have really had to persevere this season. A slow start, and the record doesn't show how much improvement you guys have made. Talk about what you've seen from the team as the year has gone on and how they've kind of gelled together, found an identity, and now they're starting to really catch some traction.
We're really young. Our team is really young. There's about 12 girls that was on the roster last year that are not on the roster this year. But we've got a few seniors actually that have really bought into the program. Of course, there's Reagan Berkey and Katie Stamp, Katie Stamp has impressed me throughout the entire process. But early on, we had some injuries. We had some people, who had to sit out just like, everyone else has with COVID and everything else like that. But we've got a couple players back, and it's starting to really gel.
Coach, how much did you lean on those seniors to provide the leadership on and off the floor?
I was hired back in June, and from the very beginning, we started strength and conditioning, and some of them, we didn't even have to say anything. They just kind of just jumped up in front of the line and said, hey, this is how we're going to do things. We pulled them to the side and said, this is how we want to play. These are some of the things that we need to do, prior to the season even coming here. And a few of them really bought in.
One of your more recent games that I think really caught my eye, Warren Harding, you ended up losing, but you fought that team tooth and nail the whole night. And then a lot of people think Warren Harding is one of the better teams in the area. What did you see from your team in that game that really made you excited for what you have going forward?
You know what? That Warren Harding, hats off to them. They're a really, really great team. And Birch, good luck to her throughout the rest of the season. And as she goes on to Cleveland State, she's a heck of a player. We just kind of just fought. And, we talk about character and, how you act. It's not what you say, it's what you do. And, people are going to remember this game. Boardman hasn't beat, I talked to our seniors, Boardman hasn't beat Warren Harding. They've never beat them, since they became freshmen. And it was like, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want to go out and do here? And, we looked at the film and we talked about the game and everything. There was a few things that we can improve on, just like there is every game. There's a few things that you can improve on. But I think that game right there helped them to start to really believe that they can play.
Coach, you brought up something earlier in the interview, and that's the tradition of Boardman basketball. I mean, girls basketball, Ron Michella led the team to some really interesting heights, plenty of regional tournaments, a handful of state basketball tournaments. You go on the boys' side, I go back into the days of Alan Burns in the early, mid-late 70s. Pat Birch has done an unbelievable job with this basketball program. Basketball is a way of life at Boardman, and Spartan Nation loves their basketball. What were your thoughts as you took this job from the aspect of where you want your program to be on the pantheon of Spartan greatness?
We just wanted to just add to it, not change too much, but sprinkle in a little bit of our own flavor. Coming from Midland, Pennsylvania, that's where I'm from originally. There's a winning tradition there, dating back to the 60s. And then as well as, playing high school ball in East Liverpool, Ohio. And, on Coach Birch's staff is Steve Flores, who played at Pitt and YSU, and he's, a person I talk to like every single day, as well as, Coach Birch. And we just kind of just want to add that fight in there, in a way of simplifying things so that the girls are playing fast.
And you said it, you are a young team. One of the young players I think everyone should be talking about on your squad is Mackenzie Ricatelli. I mean, what a talent. What can you say about coaching her and what she brings to the court?
She listens. She really does. One thing we talk about is just valuing every single possession and how a point guard has to be an extension of the coach. And, we talked to her, we talked to, Gia Treveri, and a couple of other guards of, what you do on the court, regardless of how much the coach screams and yells during the game, what you do on the court is what everybody else is going to do. So if you aren't composed and you start going, out of control, the rest of the team is going to do the same thing, regardless of how many timeouts we call, what we do as coaches. So one thing she really does is listen, and she's starting to understand that, there's certain times to attack and there's certain times to pull it back out. And the last game that she had, I think she had 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and the big thing about all of that was she had 0 turnovers. So that was really huge. When you can have a point guard play almost the entire game and don't turn the ball over, you're in business.
Coach, you talked about growing up in Midland, Pennsylvania, which is just across the border from East Liverpool, Ohio, about 30 minutes south of Boardman. It's a different mentality of basketball in the East Liverpool and Midland area than it is in Boardman. Have you brought some of that mentality into Boardman?
I would hope so. Being, in Midland, one thing we do a lot is we talk all the time, playing on the basketball courts in 4th Street and also down 10th Street. And, mixing that up with East Liverpool, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was just, they're pretty much the same way over there. So, I was blessed to be a part of a lot of great teams over there. One thing we talk about a lot is communicating and talking all the time. One of the best basketball players at the University of North Carolina, of all time, people always say, Michael Jordan, James Worthy, this and that, but it was Rasheed Wallace. And why was it Rasheed Wallace? Because he didn't shut up. He made sure that everyone on the court knew at all times what everybody else was doing. So, and that's what made the teams he was on really great.
You talked about your conversations with Coach Birch when you got the job. And, he's established there at Boardman, and he's established a standard of excellence. What kind of things do you think in the early days of having the job did Coach Birch help you with, and how much did those conversations with him really help you out when you first took the job?
Experience in this community. Me and my wife aren't exactly from here. My wife is from Columbiana. Stevie, her maiden name is Goist. She played basketball and softball there. Me not being from this area as well, we've been here since 2016, but, he's from here, this area, and, just the community, athletics, and working with the students, as he also teaches a lot of them.
Coach, Anthony and I, at some point in time, did some coaching, and I can't speak for Anthony, but I can speak for myself. Trying to get kids to talk on defense is like pulling teeth. It is so difficult to see kids that are yelling and screaming and having a good old time before practice starts, and yet when you try to tell them to start communicating on defense, to say pick, screen, and talk and get everyone in position, it's like you're speaking a foreign language to those same kids that have no problem talking before and during practice, but they're shut up while they're playing defense. Drove me nuts. How do you get your kids to talk when it comes to playing defense?
Hey, I hear you on that. Before practice is loud, after practice is loud, but during practice, it's like, what are we supposed to say? So we try to simplify things a lot and just say what's in front of you, what's going on. What do you see? If you just say what you see and you keep saying it, you can't be wrong. And communicating on defense and on offense, it's contagious. If I can get one person to start talking, then the next person starts talking, and you got to keep repeating it. It's kind of like when I used to coach football, it was, as far as defensive backs, how do we talk? If I scream something into the one corner, he needs to say it to the safety, to the free safety, he needs to say it to the strong safety, he needs to say it to the corner, and it goes all across the field, because there's no way in the world across the entire field that the opposite side corner is going to hear me. So we try to do the same thing with basketball.
You touched on the leadership of Katie Stamp and Reagan Berkey, both players that are going to go play other sports at the next level. They understand the standard it takes. How much have they meant to this program, not just the success this year, but showing the young kids what the standard is so they can succeed in years to come?
The young kids always look up, and I want to add another senior in there too. I mean, we have two of them. There's Kennedy and also Bailey Moore. Bailey Moore, she's played a lot in the past. This year, she's kind of taken a role of just kind of leading our scout team. That's been huge, making us be able to get a good look. And she is constantly attacking the girls that, are playing, on game day. I mean, she's going at them and making them better. And she's taking that role, and, hats off to her. But as far as our seniors go, if they don't buy in, the younger kids, the Mackenzie, the Sam Dubles, Gia, if they're not looking up to, well, they look up to them all the time, but if the seniors aren't buying in, then it'd be even harder for the young ones to buy in.
Brett Green, the head basketball coach of the Boardman girls basketball program, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. And I mentioned program because everyone loves to talk varsity basketball, but you know as well as I do, Coach, it starts a hell of a lot earlier than high school. Talk about your program. I know that pre-junior high you guys have a program for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th graders. As you have taken over Boardman, what have you done to put culture back into the Spartan program?
So first and foremost, I want to thank Steve and Jen Flores in the girls youth basketball program, Steve Smith. When we first moved here, our daughter was young. She was in 2nd grade, and they were coaching the 4th grade girls team with their daughter Maya, and they allowed, my daughter Maisie to be able to play up with them, and she continues to play. So Steve and I are still coaching the girls' 6th grade team right now, even with him coaching, assistant varsity coach for boys and me on the girls' side. But youth program, we're trying to get more girls involved, and that's the thing, because you're always going to have a drop-off. There's going to be a drop-off, and for some reason it appears that there, or seems to be that there's more of a drop-off when it comes to girls basketball than boys basketball as they get older. So, you want to kind of play the numbers, and the more that we get at a very young age in second and third grade, hopefully the more we have, a strong group together as they become seniors in high school, juniors and seniors in high school. So right now, we had, we worked through COVID with Marco and the school administration and everything. We're able to get, a sense of still have a youth program, but we're going to be doing a lot of different things here in the spring. I don't want to put all of that out there. I want to keep that, in-house, but we're going to be very active in our second through eighth grade, trying to get more girls playing AAU. So been trying to reach out to different AAU programs in the area, as far as Canton all the way down to, Monaca, Pennsylvania, and get our girls playing year-round, because it's really hard to compete against other teams whose, players are playing 10 months a year when ours are only playing 3 to 4 months a year.
When you look at all that, you think about all the things you can do with not the youth and the junior high, how excited does that make you for the future of this program and the years to come with you at the helm?
I'm really excited. Our fifth grade and our fourth grade girls basketball teams right now, I'm really excited for, when they come up. Our seventh and eighth grade girls teams right now are doing really well. Hats off to all of our coaches. Our third grade team, we've got a great coaching staff from third grade through eighth grade right now. We've got some other head varsity basketball coaches that are coaching our youth program. We've got guys, who've got a lot of, and also women who have a lot of years of experience, even playing Division I sports, throughout third through eighth grade.
Brett Green, the Boardman girls basketball coach, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline as we talk present Spartans basketball. Anthony and I were looking at the Division I girls basketball tournament, the Super Size Me tournament. Let's just say that it's going to be filled with a lot of really interesting names, and interesting in a damn they're good kind of a way. It'll be a fun journey, and hopefully for Boardman, it's a lengthy journey, but man, there are some really good basketball teams in this tournament.
Oh yeah. And, I told Marco, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime, because it won't be a negative doing that, throughout the season. And we had the chance to play, Archbishop Hoban earlier in the tournament down in South Range. And we played them tough for 2 quarters. Of course, Hoban is who they are. We still have Stowe coming up here in a couple weeks. But I was looking, at the voting for the tournament, and there was a lot of great talent on there. And, we're just going to fight, and that's all it is we're going to try to do what, we do, stay within ourselves and just compete. We want to compete every single day in practice and compete as soon as we step on the floor against anyone else.
I want to talk about the conference here, and it's small, not a lot of teams, but man, it's good. What do you think playing the conference that you play and playing the teams like Canfield and Fitch and Warren Harding and Howland twice a year do for your team going forward?
So Canfield got us out there. Hopefully we can get that rescheduled and play them again at our place. But the win against Howland was huge for us. I believe our seniors only beat them one other time in their high school career. So, they were really excited from that one. And it showed them again that, hey, you can compete with anyone if you just do what we do. Don't try to, play outside of yourself. Move the ball, be strong with the ball, and attack when you can.
The non-conference opponents in the future in non-COVID world, and hopefully we pray that non-COVID world comes soon. In a normal year, your non-conference schedule can be loaded with area teams. Cardinal Mooney, year in, year out, they have a solid girls basketball program. Ursuline, the same thing. There's 2 teams down in the southern part of Mahoning County, the northern part of Columbiana County, and West Branch and Salem that are 2 solid basketball programs. It's not that we don't have some pretty good caliber competition. Even though some of these teams are not D1, it would still provide a really, really good base for your schedule before you go out of the area to take on some D1 teams.
Yeah, there is a lot of talent around here. Poland, wow. They've got some really good talent over there. South Range with the Izzy. There's a lot of talent around here. Salem with their guards. We want to do as much as we can to prepare ourselves for the tournament and the teams that we're going to face, while also still allowing, for the hometown flavor and playing games for the community as well. As we get better and everyone in the area gets better, I'm hoping that the competition around here continues to do so. I mean, West Branch was in the state Final Four last year, so there's some teams that's going to go far this year, I believe.
Man, we talked about the talent in this area. What do you as a girls basketball coach, and you see so much talent in girls basketball across the area, it doesn't matter what division it is, how excited does that make you just for the growth of the sport and the growth of girls sports in the area of the Youngstown, Mahoning Valley area?
There's so much that you can learn in high school sports that, you're going to be able to continue on and throughout your life, whether it's dealing with resiliency, increasing resiliency, just getting up and fighting every single day just to make it work for your family. I mean, that's teamwork right there in a nutshell, is having a family and being able to go through the in and outs of family life, whether it's work as well. So I'm really excited about the girls sports in this area. One thing that we talk about is, most of the girls on the team are going to go to school after high school. They're going to go to continue, with college and whatnot. And why not get better if this is what you're going to do and let somebody else pay for it? You're going anyway. So that's one thing we talk about, is preparing ourselves for that academically, socially, and, physically, athletically. So,
Coach, all the best to you, and congratulations. Your first year at Boardman. I know the program is in really good hands. I'm especially thankful that you are taking the time to build the program from the ground up. I love what you guys are doing from third grade all the way up through eighth grade, and it's going to pay dividends down the road. It's Spartan Nation made a really, really good hire when they put you in charge of this program, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The staff that we have right now, my wife, she played in college. She coached in college as well. There's Coach Rankin, who's got 30-plus years of experience over in the WPIAL. He's got some WPIAL championships under his belt. And then, Coach G, Lauren Gabriel, she's a Spartan through and through. So,
all right, all the best to you, sir.
Hey, thank you very much. Y'all have a great day.
All right, you as well. Boardman head basketball coach Brett Green, and I'll say this, and I am so thankful Boardman has finally gotten away from we have to hire someone within the Boardman family. It used to drive me nuts when that's what they did all the time. I'm so thankful that they're finally out of that whole we have to stay within our family. This is a great example of what you can do by bringing someone in from the outside. I think that Coach Green is going to be a tremendous asset to Spartan Nation.
One of the things that, I've had a chance to cover a couple of Boardman games, and one of the things that Coach Green is really, really good at is mid-game adjustments, and he's instilled that into his team. I mean, I remember the Poland game that I covered. Poland came out and scored 42 points in the first half, and then Coach Green went in the locker room, drew up a different defense that Poland hadn't seen really much on film, and they came out and they just shut that offense down. Now, the Boardman offense couldn't really take advantage because Poland's defense is so good, but when you can make that kind of adjustment, you give up 40-plus points in the first half, you come out and give maybe like 15 points in the second half because you switch up your defenses and you do things that they haven't seen on tape.
Yeah.
To be able to adjust on the fly like that and to change around defenses, that's something that you don't see a lot at this level. And it was one of the things that I was really impressed at Coach Green and his staff and then his players for being able to execute it.
Yeah, and I can envision this team when they're finally rolling, that they'll roll out 5 or 6 different defenses during the span of a game, and just a 1-3-1 to get some turnovers, a high 2-3 zone, a man help man defense, straight man defense. Oh, I can see all kinds of different things.
You know what
going on
excites
here.
me? What I could see from, I mean, it could happen from Boardman. I think, what if they change defenses in the middle of a possession? They start you off with a man, and then you're holding the ball a little bit, and then they back up into a 1-2-2 zone.
It's crazy.
It's like, oh man, all of a sudden you have to adjust in the middle of a possession your offense and what you're going to do against that defense. And I think Boardman, when I've seen how fast they can adjust at halftime, I think that's a team that maybe could grasp the idea of changing defenses and executing it at a high level in the middle of a possession.
And it's really not that hard to do if you think about it. I mean, if you go from, let's say, a help man defense, which is essentially a glorified zone defense because help man, you're in a certain area, and then you decide we're going to go into a 2-3 with the guards trapping whoever it is up top, and then have some real fun where the middle guy decides to jump out on the wing and you funnel everything to the inside so the guard is back trapping at the foul line extended. I mean, there are so many different things that you can do defensively and I'm sure that Coach Green is going to do all that and then some with his basketball team.
Yeah, and they got some pieces that can make them dangerous. I mean, Katie Stamp does a lot of good work in the paint. Reagan Berkey is just electric fast. She's going to run track at Bowling Green in Division I. So she's got the speed to really cause people problems, especially on defense. And then I think Mackenzie Ricatelli is a really great young player, as he said, learning the point guard position. That game that he pointed out where she had 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 0 turnovers. That just, from a young point guard, that's one of the things that you get a gold star when you put up a game like that as a point guard.
Do everyone a favor and let's run down Division I before we wait for the head basketball coach of the Ursuline Irish, who will be calling in at 1:30, Mike Kernan, the head basketball coach at Ursuline. We get a Super Size Me district tournament in Division I, and Fitch and Harding and Boardman and Canfield are all a part of Division I. I believe Howland is Division II, if I'm not mistaken. But the 4 local teams in Division I, Canfield, Boardman, Fitch, and Harding, and I believe they're going to be in the same district.
So here you go. This is a big district, by the way, for Division I. So I don't know if they're going to break it into 3. But you have Aurora, Archbishop Hoban, which that's right there. I mean, you have Hoban. We saw what they can do with Lene Riley. Austintown Fitch, Boardman, Brush. I've never even heard of
Brush. Is up in the Cleveland area.
Canfield, Canton McKinley, Chardon, Cuyahoga Falls, Glen Oak, Greene, Hoover, Howland, Hudson, Massillon Jackson.
Yeah,
they're tough.
Massillon Jackson and Hoban right now are the 2 toughest teams, with all due respect to the other programs.
Kenmore Garfield, Lake, Lakeside, Louisville, Madison, Mayfield, Mentor, Nordonia, which is a really good team that we got to see at the South Range tournament, North, Massillon Perry, which really good team, by the way, Riverside, Salone, South Willoughby, then we have Stowe, Monroe Falls, Roosevelt, Walsh, Jesuit, Warren Harding, Washington, New Philly, and Marietta.
That's 35 teams.
Right. So you might be seeing what?
You're probably looking at about
15, 16, 17, and maybe 17, and then 18 in the other.
Woof. And you've gone down to New Philadelphia, which is south of Canton. I mean, you've really hit the gamut here from Akron all the way to the line and up into the East Cleveland area.
And we all know there's just not as many Division I teams in the state, so you just kind of got to widen the area a little bit to make a district.
That's going to be entertaining, to say the least. I mean, if you're Harding, and again, we've put Howland in. Okay, so you got Fitch, Boardman, Howland, Harding, and Canfield. Of the 5 teams, no disrespect to the other 4 teams, Harding is
probably going to be the higher seed.
Probably the higher seed. But when you just added all of those teams, Oh, dear God.
But you
Harding
think
might
about
not
it.
be a 5.
What's great is Harding going to be a really high seed, but Boardman took them to for a 4-point game.
You're right. Yeah. And again, at 35 teams.
And Boardman's record will put them in a lower seed. I mean, they're
Exactly.
4-11. You know, we know how good they can be.
I would not want to play Boardman in the first round.
A lot of people out of the area are just going to look at that record and go, well, maybe, let's say 22 seed or whatever it may be. And that's going to be really scary if you're going up against maybe an 11 seed. You already know you have chances to win against Warren Harding. You can really do some damage against an 11 seed or a 10 seed.
Like I said, I would not want to play Boardman in the first round, especially if they're a really, really low seed. Now, again, keep in mind the 35 teams are going to be split, and we'll see how that transpires. I imagine one tournament will be 18 teams, the other tournament will be 17 teams, and then you'll go accordingly. But I would not want to play Boardman in the first round of the tournament. Not the way this team has improved. They're one of those teams that I can see them knocking off a top 12 team.
They even gave Hoban a really hard game for about a half. Now, Hoban outlasted them with their athleticism.
Sure.
But, now Boardman's a different team than they were back right after Christmas. So it's going to be really fun to watch, especially because I think in that, you can see a 13 seed beating a 1 seed just because it's so jam-packed and so kind of on an even playing field down there in Division I.
But that tournament, 35 teams in that tournament, there's some big names. I mean, there's some really big names. Solon Girls is not a bad basketball program.
Stowe's really good.
Yeah.
Maslin Jackson is really good. Maslin Perry's really good.
Akron Hoban, we know, is really good. Willoughby is not bad. There's some big names in that whole field. So, and what can Harding do? What can some of our local teams do? Wow, this will be fun. I know I wouldn't want to play. I wouldn't want to play any of our local teams in the first round. I mean, but we'll see.
Especially like a Canfield team that can shoot really well.
Yep.
If they're on a hot night,
they can pretty much knock down most of this field if Canfield is in his zone.
Right, and they have multiple shooters.
Yeah, and it just, again, if one or two of them get hot and you play the one extra pass offense where the ball's flying around the perimeter to where the defense is over here and you throw the ball skip pass style where the kid has a wide open 3 or a open 15-foot jumper, you can have some problems.
What Canfield can do if they start hitting threes with like Gia Francisco and Aracy, they're going to put Alyssa Dillon in the high post, and you're going to have so much attention on the perimeter. She's going to have a one-on-one opportunity in the high post, and she can just drive right to the hoop from that point.
And go to the foul line.
And she's a hard body to deal with when you're one-on-one against her and you can't help because they're shooting so well. That's going to be a tough team.
Yeah, and if, like I said, if Canfield shoots the ball really well, they're a tough out.
Now, the downside is, like a couple of college teams in the past, if you're a team that lives by the 3,
you die by the 3.
You can die by the 3 too if your shooting goes cold.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's if they're on, they're going to be a tough out. Fitch, Howland, Harding, Boardman, if they're playing their A game, it will be a very difficult night for those teams.
How about even Fitch? I mean, they're struggling this year, but sophomore Zeta Creaky broke the school record for threes in a game this week on Monday. So it's like even they have someone that can really go off and wreck a game if you give her space.
Yeah, exactly. There's talent on all 5 of these teams. It's just a matter of, are you guys going to step up when the spotlight is bright in tournament time? And if they do, it's going to be a tough out for the out-of-town teams against our 5 Valley teams in Division I. All right, we're going to take a timeout. Mike Kernan, girls coach at Ursuline High School. Division 3 is going to be a lot of fun as well, and
we'll break that one down.
Yeah, because there's some fun teams in Division 3 that we got to talk about.
We'll save the best for last because I think Division 2 is just ridiculous.
This team, if they play their A game, can be fun,
team,
but not the football team. But yeah, take the football part of this out of here. They got to get a one of these hoodies. Which is, by the way, this is a comfortable hoodie. This is a heavy hoodie as well. They got to get one for basketball. Coach Blatch, Coach Gates, get on this. All right,
get on this. Let's go.
Get on this stats.
Come on.
All right, 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The Super Size Me tournament field, or at least the teams, are set. We haven't set the brackets. That'll be on Sunday when the seedings are announced and the brackets are going to be announced. And then Monday, you and I are going to have a field day talking about the brackets and how far teams can go. We're into Division 3, and before we get the teams in the Super Size Me district tournament, let's bring in one of those teams' head coach. Joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, the head basketball coach of the Ursuline Irish, Mike Kernan. Coach, how are you today, sir?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. So
I would be doing better if we beat Moody yesterday.
I didn't want to bring that up first, Coach, but since you did bring it up, the game last night in your place on Wick Avenue on the northern part of Youngstown, it was a close game in the third quarter. I think you guys were down 2 heading into the fourth quarter, and then Mooney outscored Ursuline 14-7 in the final quarter to get the victory. What was the fourth quarter? What went away from you guys in the fourth quarter in this game last night?
You know what? It actually, I would say probably it was still a one-possession game when we were in the under 2 minutes. What actually happened? I didn't get to that piece of the film yet. From a recalling standpoint, we went down 1 bucket, 2 scores and then 3 scores and put nothing together, nothing together, nothing in the bucket to gain any momentum. And Mooney fed off their bucket, their momentum, and, we didn't recover. One thing for sure, being put playing these competitive games is going to prepare us for the tournament. But, you know, we expected a good, tough, tight game. We could have executed better in those last 2 minutes to make it a different game.
You've had a couple games this season where, you know, you've been really competitive, and then, you know, it's in-the-game situations, which are hard to teach and hard to kind of grasp for a team that you know, not young, because you have plenty of seniors, but you have a lot of young talent. So how have you seen this team kind of grow and try to learn the game of basketball and learn those in-game situations a little bit better as you guys have gone on?
Well, the position I'm in, I mean, my outlook is this is great repetition and preparation for tournament time. All these teams we're competing with, you know, down to the last minute, 2 minutes of the game, I mean, we're putting ourselves in position to learn and grow from them. And all these teams are against Division, you know, bigger schools, competitive schools. So for us to compete and learn these situational scenarios, to me, it's better than beating somebody by 40. It's better than practicing in the gym. You know, when we lost LeBray last Saturday, and they're a good team, we're expecting a competitive game, and you know, the AD at Urson says, hey, we got Southeast. They could, and this is like within a 24-hour period, we're lucky to pick up a game. We know Southeast is good, and we're like, hey, we got to play. That's better than any practice we could have. So keeping the kids' mindset is probably the toughest part. When you're losing and you're continuous grinding, is probably the toughest obstacle to maintain. But my kids are pretty tough, and they're actually handling it really well. So I feel good about where we are.
Coach, you brought up something really interesting in this COVID world where you could lose a game and gain a game on a dime depending on the relationship that the AD has with certain teams. And obviously, Ursuline's a D3 program. You're blessed in which you're playing a lot of D1 and D2 programs to prepare you for the D3 tournament. But beggars can't be choosers. I mean, if you have a team that drops you because of COVID, and there's a Division 4 program that is, you know, free, I would imagine playing a D4 team, a mediocre D4 team, is better than practicing because, you know, I truly believe experience is the best teacher regardless of your opponent.
No doubt about that. You know, it's sometimes I think some of these teams look at the opponent and they shy away a little bit. You know, I mean, and that's a great example for us. We have a good competitive team. We're excited about the tournament, and we lost a couple games just ahead of us, and we didn't hesitate to pick up Southeast last week. We have picked up Canfield this Saturday, and we picked up Poland on Monday. I mean, we're like, let's, you know, win or lose, it's better than any practice we can have. And the kids are learning to compete. Then you go play these maybe Division 3 schools, or there's other schools that aren't competing at that high level. It's going to help us execute a lot more. And even to pivot off that, you talked about the change with the COVID and basketball preparation. Now you have to pay attention to kids getting rest, you know. And just like we prepared for LeBray, we figured that would help us maybe in voting. So we prepared pretty hard, pretty well versus LeBray. Then 24 hours before the game, they say, you know, they had to cancel. And then we're sitting there thinking, then we go play Southeast, and you really can't prepare, you know, within 24 hours. Maybe grab one film, find a few things out. So the rest and the preparation are the two interesting obstacles out there as well.
Talk about your seniors and how much you've leaned on them through this crazy year to lead the team, not just on the court, but off the court, and what they mean to your program.
These four seniors we have 6. One actually went down with the ACL. Another one's a great attitude substitute on our team, great supporter of the team. And then the 4 starters we have, they played basketball I think at St. Christine's, all 6 of them did, since like the 4th and 5th grade. Their leadership, when it came time for conditioning, even through all this COVID, they showed up. They're leaders with all these, all the young kids that are out there. We have Emily Smith, who has the ACL tear, Gianna Gordolik, who's an excellent sub, great attitude on the bench. And then you have Rachel Faber, our point guard, Jamie Nelson, guard, excellent defensive player, Anissa Mormon, just a great all-around athlete player, can go big for us and shoot outside. And then Kara McNally, who's just a sharpshooter from the outside. But having these seniors on the team, having that leadership, in a way, you're sitting there thinking you're going to lose a lot for next year, but in a way, they've really set the tone for the pivoting off the program from a Dejanette Harris, let's say. We didn't follow up with another Dejanette Harris, but these seniors have really kept the program at a high level in transition.
Ursuline head basketball coach Mike Kernan joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. And, we spoke with the Boardman head basketball coach Brett Green. And, for a D1 program, there's not a lot of D1 programs in the area. And sometimes you have to go outside the area. But this area has improved in basketball so much that you don't have to go outside the area all that often. I mean, you still have two really good programs in the southern tip of Mahoning County that you can call up anytime in West Branch and Salem. Your conference, you've got Mooney, you've got East, you've got Cheney. You can go up to take on Canfield, Howland, Fitch, Harding, Boardman. I know that you guys have jumped down into the MVAC gray tier. You guys played Crestview earlier in the year. Newton Falls, Liberty, Brookfield. There's plenty of competition in this area where the basketball has improved so much. Oh, you still want to go outside the area to test yourself out and test your team out, but there's a lot of good competition within the Mahoning Valley now.
You're absolutely right about that. And that, brings up even the South Range, who was in the D3 finals last year with everybody, regional finals with everybody back as well. And you're absolutely right. And probably with the COVID going on right now, it's nice to have all these quality competitive teams going on in our area. But I agree with you. I agree with you quite well. Our local basketball is at a nice level right now. Even in the Division 4, and we might be missing teams as we move along, but that McDonald team's one heck of a squad as well. Division 3, your South Range, and you mentioned West Branch and Salem. I mean, it's really at a nice level right now. We'll say that for sure.
Coach, these super districts pose an exciting challenge with a lot of teams that maybe you wouldn't see in a normal district. What kind of things excite you most about the challenges ahead with these super districts and some of the teams you might have to square up against?
Me personally, I absolutely love it. I don't know if anybody heard my input through a roundabout way, but the fact we can go out and play the competitive schedule. I mean, I'm very excited and interested to see how the seedings pan out. Because now I'm in position where maybe I don't get a 15 seed and I get stuck in this bracket. Because we're doing the 1 through. You can go into 2 districts now. We're going to seed 1 through 24. I always said, I don't care. Let me pick where I want to go. If you want to put me 5th or 6th seed instead of the 1 or 2 because of the schedule we are, at least that puts me in position to go pick where my competition is. The way they had the seedings the last couple of years where, hey, if you're in the 6th seed, you go in the 6th spot. There's no strategy behind that. And then the teams who are playing a more competitive schedule like us, we almost get put at a disadvantage. I mean, you still got to go win, but heck, you want to put me at 7 or 8 seed because we have 5 losses against great quality teams and we competed against all of them. That's fine. Let me see where you vote, and I might come just go pick you and go in your bracket.
Well, and it's not just South Range that is going to be an interesting look. I mean, D3 is stacked. It truly is.
I like our bracket. You know, Kirtland was very good last year. They got some nice numbers. Rootstown's 8-2, 9-2. They're competitive. Garfield's extremely competitive. Liberty, Crestview, Brookfield, a very, very good team right now. Got a good thing going. And I'm probably missing a few of them, but I agree with you 100%. There's 8 to 12 teams in there that are very, very good ball clubs.
Yeah, and we're looking at the teams right now, and you're right. I mean, you look at a team like maybe, Garrettsville, Garfield. I think they're 9-2 right now. Brookfield has only lost one game. These are teams that are starting to learn how to win. But you're a team that you're senior led. They've been there, they've done that. They know the standards. Urson, how much of an advantage do you think the senior leaders are going to be come tournament time?
Well, I think just because of our schedule is going to help that much more. You know, if we had a younger team and we were losing to these competitive programs, playing competitively, but I think that losing can beat you down a little bit. But that's where the importance of this senior group that we have, they're focused on a couple things, and one of them is this district title. They get that these games we're playing are preparing us for this tournament. So they're buying into the program. They, into that process, they believe in it. And so that's going to be a nice factor, the combination of us rolling into the tournament.
Coach, before we get into the tournament, you still have about 2.5 weeks worth of basketball to be played. How many games do you envision Ursuline playing before tournament time? You're right now at 13 games. Are you going to be able to get to 18 to 20 games before the tournament start?
We have them scheduled. It's just a matter of right now. I don't even think we have room to add any more games, and I think that might put us at 21 off the top of my head. But again, you just don't know with the COVID, one. And then two, we just had East. We play them next Wednesday after, our next Canfield and Poland game, and they just had we have to reschedule them and because of the COVID. So you just don't know. Hey, we might be one of the programs that end up playing a team that had, a positive player, and we might have to go down for 10 days. If we get 20 games in, we'll be ecstatic, You
got Canfield on Saturday, like you said, and then Poland on Monday. What a tough stretch. How excited are you to just continue to compete against really good teams up in Division I and Division II?
Well, I'm coming off a tough loss last night. I'm coming off a tough loss against at Southeast. And when I say at Southeast, that means you're contesting with, outside county officials too sometimes. But good game. We could have won. We had the ball with 15 seconds left, down 3. So I'm not pointing fingers anywhere. But coming off those two games, tight loss here, tight loss there, and then looking ahead for Canfield and Poland. Am I excited? Me as a coach, yeah. Again, I talk about my kids being tough and off, but the grind they're going through right now really well. I love playing these schools because it's better than any scrimmage we can do. I love playing these schools, but sometimes you just got to at least be paying attention to the grind on the kids. Me as a coach and a competitor, these are the only games we should be playing. Otherwise, it's not going to make you any better. I think I told my one coach I sent a text to my one coach, has a very good team. They played a couple lower seeded teams, and they were winning by 30 and 40. Then they played a very tough team, and they went down 15 in the first half. And I said, you get in habits against those teams and you lose that competitive edge, and then you want to jump into this game. And you just lowered your standards the last 3 games. Your kids did. But that's how it is. So me, I'm ecstatic about playing a tougher competition. You just have to keep an eye out to make sure the kids are keeping their chin up and staying positive and staying focused on their goal.
Well, Coach, we cross our fingers the rest of the year and hope that all the programs stay away from COVID. We learned this lesson in the football season. If you happen to have COVID during tournament time, season's over. There's nothing fair about this whole process in the COVID world in which we're living in. So hopefully everyone is minding their business, and hopefully we have a COVID-free tournament, because, man, D3 is going to be a blast to watch.
I appreciate that, and you are right.
All right, all the best to you, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You got it. Mike Kernan, the head basketball coach of the Ursuline Irish. And we saw this in football, Anthony.
Right.
Unfortunately, even if you're a high seed and you're a favorite to win a game, we saw this outside of our area where a 3 seed, I believe, in football went down, not because they were upset on the field, they lost to COVID. And, unfortunately, if you have COVID, your season is done.
Mineral Lake Catholic took full advantage of that, too, because I think they were the team that won because of it, and they went on to win all the way until, the state finals? They were in the state finals and lost?
Yeah.
So they really took advantage of missing that 3 seed. But, yeah, what do we say about fair? I mean, if you want to play in this situation and you want to play during COVID, then you have to take the word fair, crumple it up a little bit, and throw it over the back, because fair isn't the main goal in COVID. It's just getting through it.
I gotta wonder, when we go into the seeding on Sunday. All right, Ursuline's 7-6. I mean, that's a little bit above 500.
They usually get a lot of respect. Everyone knows who they play.
I would hope that that's the case, but this is just a stacked D3 tournament. I mean, I think that Ursuline will probably have a higher seed than a team with a better record. Crestview's 10-7. Well, one of Crestview's 7 losses occurred to Ursuline earlier in the season. I can't imagine that Crestview, even though they have a better record, I can't imagine them having a higher seed than Ursuline, because Ursuline beat them earlier in the year.
You're right, and one of the things about Ursuline is I remember back in 2011 when they won the district championship. They were like 13-8, and they were the 1 seed. Just because people respect who they play, what their schedule is, and they know what they bring to the table. So we could see Ursuline finish at, let's say they play 20 games, they finish at 11-9, or whatever it may be. They're going to be put in a pretty good seed just because of the name, and everyone kind of respects their schedule and knows who they play and what they're about.
And this just isn't South Range. I mean, this is a much deeper tournament than just South Range, although I think South Range, like McDonald,
if they get healthy, they're the favorites.
Yeah, I'll be stunned if they're not a 1 or the 2.
So just to break down this district before Dre Smith calls, we have some time. Berkshire, Brookfield, Columbiana, Conneaut, Crestview, Crestwood, East Palestine, Garrettsville, Garfield, Grand Valley, Kirtland, LeBray, Liberty, which I think is a dangerous team, Pymatuning Valley, Rootstown, South Range, St. Thomas Aquinas, United, who I think is a dangerous team as well, Ursuline, Waterloo, Champion, Mogador, and Ridge. So
that's a tough. That's a very tough district. And have we mentioned lately that we're so looking forward to Garrettsville Garfield being a part of the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference Gray Tier next year? Because that school is going to make the Gray Tier so much better in all sports.
And they're a really good girls team. They lost 2 games this year. They're to West Branch and Southeast. So, those are 2 Division II teams right now. And to see those be the only 2 losses. They had a narrow escape against Champion. They only won by 2 on Monday. I was kind of surprised by that score, but they're still a very talented team. And I think that's one of the teams that a team like South Range might have to look out for. I mean, Garrettsville Garfield might get the 2 seed. So they might.
Champion's nothing to sneeze at. That's a good basketball program.
Champion lost a lot, and they're looking for an identity. So what they need to do is get as many games as possible before that point. That way they can find that offensive identity and not just be, get the ball to Emma Gamont and let her do her thing.
No, that's a stacked D3 district. I cannot wait to see how everyone is seated, where everyone is going. It's top heavy, and I can expect a lot of interesting second, third, and fourth round matchups when we go further down the process. Let's get on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. Dre, is this you?
Yes, sir. It's good to talk to you guys.
And same here. We're going to shift a little bit, pivot.
Go up a level.
Yeah, we're going to do a pivot and go up a few levels. College basketball. We've been talking about the high school tournaments. Well, YSU is essentially playing tournament type of basketball before the tournaments start, as the Penguins are now starting to heat things up on a 5-game winning streak. They've beaten UIC 4 straight games. They weren't supposed to play UIC last weekend. It was supposed to be Detroit Mercy. Detroit Mercy shut down their basketball program for the rest of the year. They got all kinds of problems with their coach out in Detroit, and the parents and the kids are not happy, and yeah, that's just a mess. So Youngstown State wound up playing UIC for a second consecutive weekend. And Dre, it's not like you had to go to a scouting report. You saw this team last weekend, and give John Barnes and the kids credit. They put the foot on the throat of UIC and did not let these girls up in any way, shape, or form this past weekend.
No, it was a really solid weekend for the team, and I think everybody involved with the program is just excited to not be playing UIC this weekend. Nothing against the Flames, but 4 times in a row, I think everybody's ready to see a new opponent. But to beat a team 4 times in a row is a pretty impressive accomplishment. I think you guys know, obviously covering sports as much as you do, it's as difficult to beat a team twice in a row, let alone 4 times in a row. So I think everybody's really proud of what they were able to accomplish, and against a really scrappy UIC team. They got some really talented young players, a bunch of freshmen who I think are going to be special. They put a lot of pressure on you. In a couple of those games, they really went full court and put the pressure on YSU throughout the game. And, I think talking to Coach Barnes this week, he feels like the team's going to be better off moving forward this year because of the games against UIC, because of the pressure they put on you. Just the experience that they gain dealing with that type of defense and that type of pressure, I think will only help them, especially this week against Robert Morris, who's a really good defensive team. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. They don't really full court press the way UIC does, but they like to get up on you and deny in the half court and make things difficult on you. So I think the last 4 games against the Flames are going to be good experience moving into this weekend against the Colonials.
Dre, how big of a confidence boost was it for McKenna Peters to go 8 of 14 from 3-point range in the 2 victories over UIC last weekend?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, McKenna, she puts a lot of work into her shot. She really in the off season put a lot of work into that 3-point shot, and she prides herself on being a great shooter. And she didn't get off to the start that she wanted to, but I think now you're starting to see her kind of settle in and start shooting the ball really well. She's currently second in the Horizon League, shooting 44% from 3. She's third in the league, making 2.5 threes per game. So her hard work's really starting to show, and she's kind of the forgotten player on this team. When you think about Chelsea Olsen and all the accolades that she received, first-team All-Horizon League, reached 1,000 points. You think about Mary Dunn, 1,000-point scorer. She's been a first-team All-Horizon League selection. But, sometimes the player that gets overlooked a little bit is McKenna Peters, and she is one of the most versatile and all-around, tough players in the Horizon League. Not only does she shoot the ball well and provide good offense, but she's really tough on the defensive end of the floor. They've asked her to step up and guard the other team's best perimeter player, over and over again. She continues to do that. She's averaging 10.5 points per game, 4 rebounds per contest. So she's really playing well on both ends of the floor. And she does a lot of the dirty work and a lot of the things that don't show up in the stat sheet, taking charges, diving on the floor, doing all those little things. And it's great to see her have some success. And when you start looking at this team and the balance that they have, you have 4 double-digit scorers with Mary Dunn, Chelsea Olsen, Neko Obiizer, and McKenna Peters. It's really a balanced effort, and I think that'll bode well for the Penguins moving forward.
And another week has come and gone, and it's another week that we get to talk about how good Nika Obiizer is. What another great weekend, and could have been 3-time Horizon League Freshman of the Week. Didn't quite get it, but I think the stats were more than deserving. What can you find some more words to describe the season she's having?
You know, it's funny is I asked Coach Barnes this week. I said I keep asking you about Nika Obiizer, but I have to. But the way she's playing, I mean, it continues to be extremely impressive when you start looking at her numbers. You know, she's averaging 14 points, almost 9 rebounds per game, shooting 48% from the floor. She's 7th in the league in scoring, which is tops among freshmen. She's also 3rd in the league in rebounding, which again is tops among freshmen. So, you know, she's putting together a pretty good campaign so far for Freshman of the Year in the Horizon League. So she continues to be dominant, and I think everybody on the floor or everybody involved with the program, you know, is a little not surprised, but I think just pleasantly surprised with her play so far. You know, the expectations were high for her coming in, but for her to come in and be, you know, arguably YSU's best player so far, and the energy she brings to the floor and the toughness, I think that's the thing that I've noticed more than anything. Obviously, she's talented. She can shoot the ball. She can play down low. She can defend. But she is a tough, competitive kid, you know, and you see that on the floor. You see her energy, and I think it's infectious for the rest of the team. So, yeah, she's put together a pretty good case as one of the top freshmen in the league, and really putting together an all-league type season statistically. So we're excited to see not only what she does the rest of the year, but throughout the rest of her career, because her future is about as bright as any Penguin that I've seen calling YSU basketball.
Dre, one of the kids that impressed me an awful lot coming off the bench last weekend was the play of Maddie Albaugh. She had 4.5 assists a game in the 2 victories. She averaged about 7.5 points a game. Her assist to turnover ratio was about 2-to-1. She's a solid player. One of the things I love about Maddie is she gets after it. She is not afraid in any way, shape, or form, and she is very quick. If the Penguins want to play a fast break type of an offense, Maddie can be the person just playing the point and distributing the ball. And I think that she and McKenna Peters and Chelsea Olsen are all 3 of them can distribute the ball, more Chelsea than McKenna. But between Maddie Albaugh and Chelsea Olsen, you have 2 guards that can distribute the ball extremely well. I mean, anytime you go 2-to-1 assist to turnovers, you're doing a pretty good job.
Oh, yeah, she's doing a tremendous job, and that's another player that I asked Coach Barnes about this week, and, you know, he said he couldn't be happier for her. You know, she's obviously a very hardworking, great representative of the program, and, you know, she's really put in a lot of work. I think last year at times, you know, she did get a lot of playing time as a freshman, but she was feeling it out, you know, trying to find her role, and, you know, had some trouble with, I think, the size and athleticism and just the different speed of the Division I college game coming from Blackhawk High School in Western Pennsylvania. Had a standout high school career, scored almost 1,500 points, was an all-state selection 3 times. So she came from a high level, but I think that her adjustment to the college level has taken some time, and you're starting to see her get more comfortable. She obviously put a lot of work in the off-season with her ball handling and running the offense, and she's taken a lot of pressure off Chelsea Olsen. You know, YSU puts a lot of pressure on Chelsea to run the offense and be the distributor, as you mentioned, as Chelsea's been one of the top players in assists. But it's so nice when you have a bench player that can come in and run the offense and handle the ball and let Chelsea slide over and play off the ball a little bit. That's been really a big emergence for Maddie Albaugh to come in and be that backup point guard. And against UIC, you know, the pressure that they put on, I thought she did a really good job handling that pressure, getting the ball up the floor, distributing, and also scoring. You're starting to see her become a little more confident on the offensive end. Coach Barnes said he's been begging her to shoot for, you know, 1.5 years now because she is a good 3-point shooter. She has very good offensive skills, and you're starting to see her take it to the basket and, you know, make some plays at the rim while also shooting the 3 ball well. So her growth has been one of the bright spots for this team, and I think she'll only continue to get better as the year goes on.
One of the things that really impresses me about her when I watched YSU play is, some point guards are really good at getting assists because they can just put the ball on a point and they can really, throw the ball well. But with Maddie, she has such good court vision. It's almost like she can anticipate what her teammates are going to do before they do them, because one, her basketball IQ is so high, and then two, it's just you can see that she has a great vision of the court and what she's looking at. I think that's one of the things that has really impressed me about her and the progress she's made over the last year and a half.
Oh, I think you're spot on. Yeah, her court vision is amazing, and it's something that has grown over the last couple of years. I think last year she was just kind of playing not to make mistakes, just kind of not being aggressive on the offensive end, just looking to, kind of pass the ball and then defer to some of the older players. But now she's starting to really play with confidence. And I think that's what you see with some of these players that come in and get some playing time and grow over the years. Not everybody is going to play like Nneka Obi either. She's come in and made such an immediate impact. That's rare for a freshman. And with Maddie Albaugh, you've seen her grow a little bit, and now she's progressing. And the one thing that does get overlooked for her, too, is her defensive play. She is extremely good on the defensive end. Quick hands, does a good job, poking basketballs away, getting steals. I believe she had 4 steals in the game on Saturday. So she's doing it on both ends. She's doing a good job guarding perimeter defenders and scoring and distributing. So a real bright spot, and it'll be fun for her this weekend. She's actually going to be playing against one of her former high school teammates, as Robert Morris has freshman guard Mackenzie Amelia, who is also a Blackhawk alum. So that'll be an interesting Blackhawk connection this weekend as YSU travels to Robert Morris.
Now, Dre, I know that even though the Penguins are on a 5-game winning streak, they did commit 39 turnovers in the 2 games against UIC. And I know John Barnes absolutely detests turnovers, and it leads for sleepless nights for Coach. Even though the Penguins are 5-3 in the Horizon League, and they've won their last 5 games. I'm pretty sure that Coach Barnes saw those statistics and has made it a point to try to cut those turnovers in half.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's going to be a big focus this week. And, talking to him, I think that was one of his number one concerns this week is just, the toughness and handling the pressure. Because as we mentioned, Robert Morris is one of the best defensive teams in the league. When you look at scoring defense, they are 5th in the league, allowing just 61 points per game. They do force some turnovers, as they force about 18 turnovers per game. So they really like to put the defensive pressure on. So it's going to be imperative that we take care of the basketball this weekend. And that puts the pressure on Chelsea Olsen and Maddie Albaugh, to handle the basketball and make sure you're not turning it over. I think when this team is not turning it over, playing efficiently, and just not making mistakes that are self-inflicted, they can beat anybody. I think that they've realized that. Really the biggest opponent you have sometimes is yourself and turning that basketball over. So I think that'll be an imperative key to victory this weekend for YSU. And, Robert Morris is a talented team. They picked up 2 wins over Wright State this past weekend. Now, Wright State, one of their best players, Angel Baker, did not play in those games. So that was a big reason why Robert Morris got those wins. But they're playing with some confidence. They're a young squad. They got some talented young players. They like to pressure you on defense. So it's going to be a good challenge for YSU, and I think it'll give us a good idea where the Penguins stand heading into the rest of the year.
And, we talked about the turnovers. That's something that the Penguins definitely want to improve on. But what are some other things that Coach Barnes kind of talks about that he wants to see improvements on? It's hard to find things when you're on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just sharing the basketball offensively. I think he said that's where he's seen the most growth from them from game 1 to game 8, aside from just getting their game legs under them and getting conditioned and into basketball shape, sharing the basketball and taking good shots and, making sure you hit the open person. That's the biggest thing. I think on offense, this offensive team has a lot of options. When you have Nneka Obi, you have Mary Dunn, Chelsea Olsen, McKenna Peters, so many different options offensively, Malia Magestro. The biggest thing is just sharing the ball. You're going to have a lot of opportunities, both inside and outside. So the number one thing is Coach wants is just to take good shots. you're going to get good looks. When you have Mary Dunn inside drawing attention, when you have good shooters outside, I think he's pretty confident with the looks that they're going to get. It's just sharing the basketball, being smart, and taking good shots. So I think that's the number one thing he wants to see continue, is just being unselfish, playing, efficient basketball on the offensive end, and that should lead to wins if they do that.
Drave Smith, the voice of the YSU women's basketball program, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. It's a road trip, but it's not really a road trip because you're going maybe an hour down the road to Coraopolis, Pennsylvania, our side of the airport, not on the Pittsburgh side of the airport. Youngstown State taking on Robert Morris. Is this one of those situations where you guys are going to be driving to Pittsburgh, driving back to Youngstown, and then getting on a bus Saturday and driving to Pittsburgh and driving back?
Well, it's an interesting week for me personally, Ron. I unfortunately will not be calling the games. I am in quarantine, unfortunately, due to being a close contact. So it's the world we're living in. 2021, 2020, it's been wild. So unfortunately, I will not be calling the games this weekend. Ricky Giuliano will be taking over my duties on 1390 WNIO. So make sure you tune into both games, Friday at 7 o'clock and Saturday at 5. But, I'm pretty sure the team is going to be going down the day of the game tomorrow. So they'll be heading down as if it's a normal, game at Cleveland State or wherever it may be. They'll drive down, play Friday night, stay in a hotel Friday night, and then get up and play again at 5 p.m. on Saturday. So that's kind of the logistics. It is a nice short trip, which I think is good for the girls. You're only staying one night in a hotel. It's a quick bus ride over, and I think the addition of Robert Morris to the league, has been positive in that sense. You get another team that geographically is located close to us. It can kind of become a little bit of a rivalry. YSU and Robert Morris have played in non-conference a lot over the last few years, but to add them to the Horizon League, I think is phenomenal. You have a women's basketball program there that has great success. They had almost 30 wins the last couple of years in the Northeast Conference, so it's a good program. Geographically, the footprint makes sense for the league, and I think this is going to turn into a nice little rivalry between YSU and Robert Morris. With the close proximity, two good programs. They battle in recruiting. So these are big games, for both programs going against each other. So even though I won't be there, I'm definitely looking forward to the games this weekend.
Dre, you won't be there. If Penguins pick up 2 wins, do you think Ricky Giuliano might put in for a little bit of a jinx card and say that he's the reason why they won?
Hey, you know what? I'm an unselfish broadcaster. I want whatever's best for the team. We got to get some wins, however we can get them. There's no doubt. No, but I'm looking forward to getting back. It's a frustrating time. I take a lot of pride in calling the games for the women's basketball program. It's a joy to be associated with Coach Barnes in this program. The girls do things the right way, both on and off the floor. So for me, it's tough not being there. I've called every women's basketball game. For the last couple of years, last 3-4 years. I don't think I've missed a game. So it's going to be different. It's going to be a unique environment, but I know Richie will do a great job. He does a great job for us on the TV side along with Ron. So we're looking forward to having him on the call. And, we're just thrilled to have the games on the air and promote this program because they deserve it. So it'll be a little bit different this weekend, but I'm looking forward to getting back the following weekend when we return home.
Actually, Richie's the one under pressure. I mean, the Penguins are on a 5-game winning streak. So, I mean, if they lose, you're going to be kicking his ass off the air and saying, yeah, you're done, pal. That's it. No more. Hey,
I was gonna say we're on a 5-game winning streak, so I think I've been a decent good luck charm.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, it's no secret Detroit has closed up shop this year, so that's one less team in the Horizon League. And I was hearing whispers that Indiana-Fort Wayne may be doing the same thing. What is the Horizon League doing in terms of setting up their tournament? Have we heard anything from the Horizon League as far as how the tournament is going to go, Dre?
Yeah, so today the Horizon League did announce the brackets for the men's and women's tournaments, which are going to have an interesting format. For the women, obviously you have 11 teams, with Detroit being out. Obviously there's been some reports of some trouble inside of Purdue-Fort Wayne's program, but nothing official on them. So as far as we know, they're continuing to play. So that leaves the women with 11 teams, with Detroit not playing the rest of the year. So the bracket is going to be a little different. It's going to be the top 5 seeds will earn byes to the quarterfinals. And in the first round, the 6 seed will play the 11 seed, 7 will play 10, 8 will play 9, and then they'll reseed the bracket in the quarterfinals, prior to the semifinals, which will take place at Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis. So the first round of the quarterfinals will take place at campus sites. So, maybe an opportunity for YSU if they can get in, the top 4 of the standings, an opportunity to host a game in the quarterfinals. And also, the Penguins will have a good chance to host a game in the first round as well. So it's going to be a little different this year with only 11 teams. You'll have the top 5 getting byes to the quarterfinals, and then they'll reseed the bracket from there and move into the semifinals in Indianapolis. So it's an ever-changing environment. Obviously, UIC's series this weekend was canceled against Wright State as you have continued shuffling of the schedule. And I'm sure there'll be more changes and more developments as we get closer to the league tournament. But that's where we stand right now. So all we can do is take it day by day in this environment, unfortunately.
Dre, I got to believe that if Youngstown State continues their winning ways, they'll grab the first-round bye. I got to believe they'll finish in the top 5 in this league, which would give them a first-round bye, and then you go right into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and I think that's what YSU is looking at. We've talked about it here on the show before. When you look at the schedule lining up, if you can get a couple of wins at Robert Morris, that gets you to 7-3, and then you get Purdue-Fort Wayne at home. There was yet to win a game. You could be staring at 9-3 going to IUPUI, which will be a tough trip. But then you get 2 home games against Cleveland State to round out the regular season. So there's some opportunity here, and I think now there's some motivation to finish in that top 5 and get one of those byes to the quarterfinals. Then you're 1 game away from going to Indianapolis, and if you can win 1 game in Indianapolis, all of a sudden you're in the title game. So I think that's what's great about the league this year. I think it's wide open. I think there's a lot of teams come tournament time that are going to be in this thing. Obviously Milwaukee at 12-0, they're sort of running away with the regular season situation, but you have Northern Kentucky 4-0. They haven't played in weeks, so we don't know when we're going to see Northern Kentucky. Wright State's 9-3, IUPUI 6-2, Green Bay 7-3, Oakland's 8-4, we're 5-3. So there's a lot of teams vying for those top 5 spots, and I think when it comes to tournament time, you're going to see a lot of great games because I think the top half of this conference is wide open. I think anybody can beat anybody. We'll see if Milwaukee continues to be as dominant as they've been. We'll see if IUPUI lives up to the preseason picked as they were picked as the preseason champion. But I think there's going to be some fun Horizon League women's basketball coming down the stretch. This is a great mid-major Division I conference, for women's basketball. I don't know if enough people, realize just how good the conference is in terms of depth and programs that have had great history. So it's going to be a fun time down the stretch here.
Dre, before we let you go, obviously the guys' tournament, all 12 teams are alive and well. So is it going to be the top 4 teams get a bye? 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, 7 plays 10, 8 plays 9?
Yep, that will be the situation for the men. Yep, the top 4 teams will earn byes to the quarterfinals. Both the first round and the quarterfinals will be at campus sites. And then they'll also move on to Indianapolis for the semifinals. So a little bit cleaner for the men. The top 4 teams will get the bye, then they'll reseed after the first round. So a little bit more predictable there on the men's side. So hopefully everything stays that way. I think that the men are playing with some confidence. They could have easily got 2 wins against UIC this past weekend as they lost on that buzzer-beating tip-in on Friday, but got a good win on Saturday. And I think the same's true for the men. That league is wide open. There's obviously some good teams, but come tournament time, I think YSU, in a 1-game setting, has hopefully if they get Darius Quisenberry back as well, they'll have enough firepower to compete with anyone. So looking forward to the end of the year and tournament time for both the men and women.
Hey, Dre, always a pleasure. We'll catch up next week, brother.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, guys.
All right, see ya. Dre Smith, he is the voice of the YSU women's basketball program, and if Richie calls 2 wins, I don't know. Although, let's be honest, they were on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, you made the good point. He's in more pressure because if he calls a couple losses, then he's in real trouble.
Yeah, he might get sent to the principal's office if he gets a couple of losses. And no pressure at all, Richie. I'm just saying,
Richie's a good dude. I think he'll call some wins.
No, I think everything is going to be fine. And honestly, now that you're looking at the whole situation, the top 5 teams are going to get a bye. YSU has an opportunity.
There's a lot of logjam in that top of the, after Milwaukee, there's a big logjam in the top of that conference. So it's going to be interesting to see which team kind of puts their best foot forward in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting stretch of games for the next 3 weeks or so.
Very interesting.
Yeah. You had to do that.
Had to.
Oh, Lordy. We're going to take a timeout on the other side. We got to go back to high school because
we'll grab D2.
Yeah, we've done D4. We've talked about D3. We did talk about D1. Now we have to.
We went out of chronological order a little bit there, but we'll get back to it.
That's okay. We're going to D2 basketball, and that is coming up in a bit. It is a Thursday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Ruud gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Ruud, and so should you.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
High-res Futurecast shows steady snow for the next few hours.
Still just downright cold.
It is bitter out there.
Several strong bands of lake effect snow.
Winds is kind of the big story today as well.
So if you need a more detailed winter forecast on WFMJ.com and the Storm Tracker 21 app.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potester with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Before we get into Division II, let me throw down some information. The Crestview Rebels have added a boys basketball game. They have added a game. They will be playing home against the Hubbard Eagles on February the 3rd. JV game will start at 5:30. The varsity game somewhere around 7 o'clock. That's a D2 program. That's out of the Northeast 8. That's a very good regular season matchup. As once again, COVID changing things up.
It's a solid pickup, but it's also, I think it's a great because it's a winnable game. So it's one of those games that you can go and you can win, boost confidence, but it's also a great opponent, and it's someone that you have to take seriously. It's not a cupcake by any means, but you're not playing someone that you almost have no chance of beating. You're playing a very winnable game.
Yeah, and then they have the makeup game against LeBray, varsity only. It's a girls' game. The makeup game against LeBray will be at Crestview on Saturday, February the 13th. That is a 12 noon start, no JV game, varsity only. LeBray at Crestview in the MVAC gray tier conference matchup. That'll be on Saturday afternoon, February the 13th at 12 noon.
All right, so we ready for this Division II district?
Buckle your seatbelts because the names you're about to hear, this is going to be straight bananas.
Click it or ticket, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so we roll things off with Canton South. Then we have Cheney, Chagrin Falls, East, Edgewood, Field, Geneva, Girard, Harvey, Hubbard, Jefferson, Kinston, Lakeview, Marlington, Niles, Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, Perry, Poland, Ravenna, Salem, Southeast, Streetsboro, Struthers, West Branch, Alliance, Cardinal Mooney, and West Geauga.
That's 27 teams.
And that's a lot of talent.
And that's an awful lot of talent. Again, I mean, in our area alone, obviously, West Branch, Poland, Salem,
Southeast. You can kind of count that as our area.
I mean, there's a lot of talent in Division II in our area.
Mooney.
And Cardinal Mooney, absolutely. Now go outside of our area, and there is some more really good talent in this district.
Perry, Marlington.
Yeah. That's a Marlington team that was in the top 10 in the AP state poll before Salem beat them.
By the way. Southeast is a really good team leading their conference, and they beat Garfield, who might get the 2 seed down in Division
And
III.
they beat Ursuline. Let's not forget that. So Division II is going to be crazy good, and
And you also have to watch out for Streetsboro. That's a team I don't know much about this year, but I know they've been good in years past, and they're going to be in that district too. And I think that's a team that you might want to watch out for in girls basketball.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see where they're ranking all of these teams, 1 to 27. I'm
looking at it, and I'm trying to rank them myself, and it's like I think you got to put West Branch above Marlington. I mean, you have to put Salem above Marlington because they beat them, especially if they go and beat them again. I know seeding's this week, but yeah, I think Marlington and West Branch both have to vote Salem above them because Salem beat both of them.
I don't see how you can put Salem below number 5 in this this district.
Marlington has to be above West Branch, so they're going to be sandwiched between Salem and West Branch because Marlington beat West Branch twice.
Yeah, and then you have to put Poland above all of them.
Right, but then do you because Salem beat Poland? They're the only loss on Poland's schedule.
Okay, yeah.
I know it was the beginning of the year, but still, it
that's
gets
true.
It gets kind of dicey.
I mean, that's true. I mean, where do you put Poland in all of this? This is going to be really entertaining to see what happens. And again, where do you go?
Where's Perry going to fall? That's going to be a wild card.
Yeah.
Because if Perry is like a 2 seed, and then you're going to see area teams have to either pick maybe, let's say Perry's the 2 and let's say like Poland's the 1 or something like that. And that's how it works out. Then you'd have to pick either we're going to go in Poland's district or we're going to go in Perry's where we're going to see a lot more area teams, So it's going to be fun to see how that shakes up. I think Salem, right now, I'd put them in the top 3, whether 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done the work. They put in that time. Their losses are to really good teams, and they're close and competitive. So I wouldn't really blink twice at putting Salem in the top 3.
Well, if you're right, and let's say that you have Poland and Perry 1 and 2, if I'm Salem, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to go to Poland.
Right.
Because we've already beaten them once. Now, it's a tall order to beat Poland twice, but you know them. You've beaten them. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that West Branch, again, there's no disrespect factor. I think that this is more of a, we know them. We know what they're capable of. We'll play the familiarity against the unknown. And I honestly don't know how many local teams are going to choose the unknown unless they've had absolutely no success with the familiarity.
And then, you look at a West Branch team, if Salem is even 3, that means West Branch can't be higher than 5 because you got to put Marlington above them. And so if it'd be really cool, it'd be really funny to see Salem, Marlington, West Branch in consecutive seeds. And if West Branch is like a 6 or 7 seed, that makes them so dangerous.
Yeah, it does. And if I'm West Branch, and this is the guy that loves rivalries, I'm going wherever Salem's going.
Right.
Because I want my kids to get a third opportunity against this team. We respect the hell out of them, but they're Salem, and we hate them. So we want to go wherever they are, and just have a hell of a game if we have the opportunity to play them.
And we've talked about West Branch is kind of like a different animal when tournament time hits. The Shields knows how to win. They don't have just a district championship culture. They have a state championship culture. They went to the state semifinals last year, got pulled off the court. They lost a lot of seniors, but I talked to one of their seniors this week. They're just as hungry, and they want to do it for those seniors because they felt like those seniors last year kind of got robbed of their moment. So they're hungry for it, and I think if they're one of those 7, 8, 9 seeds or even a 6 seed, they're very dangerous.
All right, let me ask you, because obviously South Range is Division III, and some of their rivals in the old Inter-County League or now the MVAC, and before they went and joined the NE8, the league that they were in, both South Range and Crestview were thrown out of. And then South Range finds a home in the NE8. But they developed some very interesting rivalries through the years. Mm-hmm. All right, now let's say Springfield and South Range boys basketball, they're both Division III.
That would be a rematch, too.
I want to go wherever Springfield goes.
Right, that'd be a rematch.
And okay, Crestview has not played Columbiana in years for obvious reasons that I don't want to get into because I don't want to piss anybody off. I've learned my lesson. See, I've learned my lesson. But even though they haven't played anybody or they haven't played each other in a long time, make no mistake about it, Columbiana Village, outside of Columbiana, they don't like each other. They really don't like each other. And if Crestview and Columbiana are in they're both Division III. If I'm Crestview, hey, I'm going to go wherever the hell Columbiana goes. Because we don't play them in the regular season. I want to get a piece of those people come tournament time.
Well,
and I think Columbiana would say the same thing.
It's really interesting that you bring up the old rivalries because before that Super District in volleyball, the 3 girls district championships last year were all South Range Crestview.
Yeah.
Volleyball was South Range Crestview, basketball was South Range Crestview,
yep,
and softball was South Range Crestview.
Yeah.
And it was starting to become a real big rivalry. And it might end up being South Range versus Crestview again in this tournament. Because Crestview's Division III, not a district championship. Maybe they meet in a district semifinal, but they're going to see each other. The odds are. And that's going to be one of those tournament rivalries that's starting to heat back up.
Would you, if you were in Coach Blatch's position and you had an opportunity to choose whether to go into the bracket where Coach Fischel's South Range Raiders are or go away from them and choose the unknown, assuming, of course, that an out-of-town team is the seed opposite of South Range, where do you go?
Well, I think if Garfield's a 2 seed, I think if South Range has their whole roster, and if they're back to being healthy, I think that Crestview matches up better with Garfield if you just look it on tape. I think Crestview will be able to dominate the post, and I think But if South Range is not to full health, then I think Crestview would be liable to kind of try to take advantage of that and go into their district.
Take Lamparty out of that lineup, and let's assume for a second. And I hope this doesn't happen. We want Izzy Lamparty to play in the tournaments, but if she's not able to play in the tournaments, do you factor in the opportunity for Krista Perry to have an unbelievably large game?
Yeah, and then if not just her, I mean Bree Kohler's trying to work her way back too.
Yeah.
And that's a guard for South Range. So if both of them are gone, you got to think that some of these teams like Ursuline and Crestview and Brookfield might be more liable to inch into South Range's district. Now, if they're back, you might want to transition into Garfield's district because I think Garfield, especially for Crestview, I think Garfield's a better matchup.
Now, Garfield has played some of the teams that
They beat Campion by 2.
Yeah, they've played some of the teams that they're going to be venturing into league-wise next year with the MVAC grade tier. They're going to be in with Liberty and Champion and Brookfield and Newton Falls and LeBray and Crestview and Camel. So, they've played some of those teams. The wild card for me comes out of that league. And yeah, okay, Crestview's had a nice year. The wild card out of that league, if they play not like freshmen, is that Liberty team. That's the wild card team for me.
And they were the wild card team a couple years ago when they beat Columbiana and then they upset Salem to get into the district championship game. And then last year they got upset themselves. They kind of reversed roles where they were the underdogs 2 years ago. Last year they were the favorites a little bit. They were the 2 seed, and Crestview came up and beat them in the tournament, even after losing to them twice in the regular season. So I talked to some Crestview players, and they said as much as they wanted to win a district championship, that game meant more to them than going up. I mean, it would have been great if they beat South Range in the district finals, but beating that Liberty team that has been giving Crestview so many problems, that was something that really gave them momentum.
Yeah, and then all those seniors left, and then I saw Liberty run Crestview off the floor in Crestview by doing their upscale type of basketball where you had one kid release, a girl would release as soon as a shot goes in the air from Crestview. They get the rebound, long outlet pass, right, and you get an easy pair. That's just a fun brand of basketball that Liberty plays, where if you are not capable of playing that style of defense, where you have to release, to make sure that nobody gets a cherry picked easy layup, that's a tough thing to do.
What you got to do with Liberty is you have to make them play your tempo. And Crestview's a slow team. They like to play in the half court, use half court offenses, and Liberty likes to run a lot. So you got to control the tempo, make sure they're not running. I think if you have Liberty in the half court, Crestview's defense has a huge advantage. So you just gotta force your tempo on the other team and not fall into the trap of playing Liberty's game, because neither team is good at the other team's tempo. So it's what it's all about.
It's a tough thing to teach when you're playing a half court style of an offense, and you see when you have the ball and you're putting up a shot, all of a sudden one of their kids from the far wing has already taken off. And they're already past half court when the rebound is in play. It's tough to tell your kids, hey, you're not crashing the board now. As soon as the kid that was defending you is taking off down the floor, you got to follow that person down the floor.
What I tell them is, you get this offensive rebound, you make them pay for running down the floor, you have a wide open three.
And you can do that way, absolutely.
Because Krista Perry should be able to go in there and get some offensive rebounds.
Absolutely.
So you go in there, you do your work on the board, you get rebounds, and then you make them pay for thinking that rebound is set and they're just going to run to the other side of the floor.
And that's a big way of doing it. You got to get an offensive rebound and then put the ball back in the basket, or like you said, find the open person for the wide open three.
I think the best threes come off of offensive rebounds. I mean, the most wide open threes that you usually see in a game come after someone gets the offensive rebound, the defense collapses a little bit because they want to stop that putback. All of a sudden, wide open three in the corner, bang, right home.
Yeah, or the one extra pass offense.
Right, that, and then, well, the crazy kids that can just create an open shot off their dribble. That doesn't come off too often, but those are the ones that you go, whoa.
Yeah, that's where you sit back and go, I wish I would have had that talent growing up.
I wish I would have had like half, not even half, like a quarter of that talent growing up. Oh,
crazy.
Man. But back to the Division II, I think the wild card, and that comes out of Garfield's league too, because Southeast is a very big wild card. They play in Garfield's division.
Yep.
They're leading that division, well, that conference, whatever you want to call it, league, conference. But I think that might be a wild card in that division too.
Well, look, I mean, that area, and even though West Branch and Salem are not in that league per se, they're kind of sort of in that area. That's just it's a great brand of basketball in the Stark County, over toward the tail end of Mahoning County, and up and around Portage County. It's a great brand of basketball.
And most of the EBC is in this bracket. I mean, you got Canton South, you got Salem, you got
West Branch is in there.
Marlington West Branch Alliance.
Is Carrollton in that?
No, I don't. No, Carrollton's not in this district.
Okay.
So I think that's the only one missing.
Well, Minerva would be.
I don't know where Minerva is.
If Minerva's 3 or if they're 2, I'm not sure. But again, they're down in the southern part of that conference where they might be going into the Beaver Local East Liverpool portion of the tournament.
The other side of that district, by the way, which is the west side of Northeast 3 and 4. Yeah, Bay, Beechwood, Belmont, Bucktle, who's a strong team that's liable to get to a regional. Clearview, Cleveland Central Catholic, Cloverleaf, Copley, Coventry, CVCA, which is a very strong team. Firelands, Gilmore Academy, Hawken, Holy Name, Keystone. I think Laurel, that's the team the West Branch beat last year to get to state semifinals. Yep. And they return a lot, so that's the team to really watch out for. Norton, Poland beat them early in the season, but Norton gets a lot of good wins. They're a good D2 team. Northwest, Orange, Franciscan, Revere's a good team. St. Vincent, St. Mary, everyone knows what they bring, St. Joseph, St. Martin, Shaw, Springfield, Akron, Talmadge, Triway, and Woodridge.
Yeah. So you're in the Akron area all the way up into the southwestern portion, southeastern portion, or not southeastern, south central and southwestern suburb of Cleveland, in the Parma area and all around that area. Richfield is south central portion of Cleveland as well. By the way, Richfield Revere, the home of Larry Nance Jr., he went to school there.
And I think someone related to him is on the girls' basketball coaching staff.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think there's a Nance on that coaching staff.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe Quinn knows, because Quinn's standing right there. I don't know if he's paying attention or not. He's smiling at me.
Yeah.
Quinn, do you know Revere's coaching staff?
A little bit.
Is there a Nance on there?
There is.
Aha.
Yeah. Well, Larry Jr.'s brother Pete is playing basketball in Northwestern.
Okay.
I don't know how many more years of academic eligibility or eligibility he has left, but he's got visions of an NBA career like his older brother. Mm-hmm. And if he's anything like his older brother, he'll be an NBA player. And I actually talked with Larry, and he said Pete was a better basketball player in high school than he was. That's
scary.
That's pretty impressive, because Junior was a pretty good basketball player. I remember that distinctly. All right, 330-886-0813. As we look at all of the Division 1 through 4 in the girls' tournament, and we'll have the guys next week. Yeah.
You can have the guys tomorrow. I mean, you have a lot of you have coaches coming in. I can send you the link to the guys teams. I think that's up. And
there you go. All right. Well, then we'll definitely
dive into it tomorrow
go from there.
when you got run down. I mean, you have a good schedule tomorrow with guests. Yeah, Ken Grisdale calling in.
Yeah, we got to talk to Coach Grisdale now that he has 500 wins and he's told everyone this is his last roundup at Poland. It'd be nice to get that team out of the districts and into the regional, but there's a couple of teams that provide a little roadblock in Division II.
Right, and that's just like the girls. That Division II bracket is going to be loaded in the boys' side.
Okay. From your expertise, before we take our final break, of the 4 divisions, and I don't even think any of them are easy, quote unquote, which one is the best path for our area to get the most bang for its buck?
Do you mean like which one? I think in Division 4, I think McDonald and Western Reserve are probably going to be 1 and 2, and they're just. I think they're the most in line to win both those districts and probably get 2 teams in the regional.
Okay.
Because they're going to avoid each other, they won't have to play each other, and they've both proven in the past that they can be regional caliber teams. So I see no reason why they both can't win their separate districts.
Assuming South Range is healthy, they probably have the best chance of our local teams.
I think so. I think in Division 3, absolutely.
Give me some other teams in Division 3, assuming they're healthy and on their A game, that can provide a second team, possibly a second team, into a regional.
Ursuline, because they play such a tough schedule. We talked to Kernan. I mean, they're senior-led. Anissa Mormon is a game wrecker. So is Elena Smith. McNally can shoot really well. They have different options. If they can learn how to kind of finish games off and get the basketball IQ with those late game situations, they'll be really dangerous. I think Garrettsville Garfield is a team to watch. Another team that has a lot of seniors that come back from last year. Brookfield's looking really good, a young team. They're sitting at 9-1 right now, so I wouldn't sleep on them. Champion, if they find an offensive identity, they haven't yet. I mean, I had them against Poland on Saturday. They look kind of discombobulated a little bit. They look like it was just, let's just get the ball to Emma Gamont and let her try to score 30. But if they get an offensive identity, they have the talent to score, and I think they have the pieces to make a run in a tournament. So, and then Emma Gamont can be a game wrecker if you're not putting everything on her shoulders. So, I think Champion is another team in Division 3 that might make some noise in our YSN family.
You get a reliable second and third option behind her. Champion can do some damage.
And you find a little bit of an identity. You get these girls. They've only played, I think Poland Saturday was their 4th game. So they really haven't had a lot of time on the floor to gel and find an identity on offense.
I'm not even going to disrespect any program in Division II by saying who is the favorite, because it's so friggin' close. I can't even determine that right now.
I don't even know who's going to get the 1 seed, to be honest.
I mean, there's more than a handful of teams that I believe in Division II we could be seeing 2 local teams. Then again, we might not see any local teams because it's that deep.
And that Fitch district is always fun. When back in the past when Ursuline was there. West Branch, Poland, Howland in their heyday. I mean, that was always a really strong district, and now you've gone and went and made it stronger, bringing in teams like Perry to make that district even harder to get out of.
You wonder if Howland is happy that they're now Division I.
No,
even though you're seeing a whole lot of better teams in Division I. Look, I mean, our local teams.
That Division I district, I don't think anyone would be quote unquote happy to be in it.
Yeah. And look, our local teams. It sucks that we don't have many local teams that are Division I. And if you're going to be battling the elite programs in Division I for the Fitches, the Boardmans, the Hardings, the Canfields, and the Howlands, they got to leave the area if they want to play against D1 opponents. They got to go outside the area. But there is plenty of competition in D2 that can prepare them for a D1 tournament, along with their conference games, which, by the way, is all Division I. Because you have Howland, D1, Canfield, D1, Boardman, Fitch, Harding, all Division I for girls basketball. It's a perfect league for the girls basketball.
And remember, Canfield is the smallest D1 girls program in the state. So they have a long mountain to climb. But like I said, they have the shooters that can go off. And if their shooters are hot, it gets some room for Alyssa Dill. And they're a team that if they can shoot well, and they've had games where they shot really well, they can make a little bit of noise in that tournament.
Yeah.
Of course, Warren Harding's in there. They're tough. They're tough.
If Dill comes up with some large threes, she can put another team in a pickle.
Yeah, if she starts hitting threes, then you got two more that are hitting. Like Gia Francisco can shoot really well. Aracey's starting to find her shot a little bit. So if you have three people all knocking down threes, I think Coach Real would be sitting back in his easy chair going like this because he'd be set. But I think he'd settle for two hitting threes, and then you get Dill in that high post and you give her room one-on-one to make a post move to the basket.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see where they're seated, what kind of a bracket we're looking at. That's all coming up on Monday. Yeah, that's all coming up on Monday. Tomorrow we got the Division I through Division IV. We finally know who the teams are, and our Lisbon connection may not be smiling very much. Let's just put it that way. Division IV is going to be an absolute bear, and no pun intended. No pun intended. No pun intended. My team's in COVID, so no pun intended.
Hey, let's run down the schedule tonight before we take our last break because we got some games on the network. We got South Range traveling to Lakeview. We got Liberty traveling to Champion. That'll be a pivotal game in that conference. Jefferson traveling to Girard. Albion Lowville as Waterloo comes to town. McDonald goes to Middle Ridge. We talked to Coach Kohler earlier. Valley Christian goes to United. And rounding out the games tonight, Jackson Milton traveling to Western Reserve. Danny Volatich, 12 rebounds away from getting to 1,000 rebounds on her career. So that's something we will be watching tonight as she tries to become a member of not just the 1,000-point club, but also the 1,000 rebound club.
Yikes. All right, actually, we're gonna get out of here because DJ and the fellows are gonna do Power Hour tomorrow. We got Coach Grisdale. We got the head basketball coach at Westminster. We'll be talking college basketball with the head coach at Westminster, and we have the teams that are going to be vying in the Super Size Me D1, 2, 3, and 4 districts.
Great timing with Westminster because South Range grad Daniel Ritter just had a double-double for them last night. So that's the talking point to kind of bring it into the local aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, DJ and the fellas coming up next for Power Hour at the top of the hour, and we will talk tomorrow, noon to 3, Running Point on YS.